Now, I had some technical difficulties today. Sorry. You can see what I'm doing here. Let me just, oops. Okay. Gotta get it together here. How are you? It's been a while since I've streamed, and you can tell I had a lot of technical difficulties today. Not really my fault exactly. I don't know what happened to the streaming software, but it messed up, and I'm sorry for the delay. I was a little late, but not this late. I'm trying to center myself. I hope you can see me all right. Yeah, I think you can. I mean, you just see a blank. Yeah, this is just blank. Okay, I'm not really prepared. And I think this is better, okay, because I don't typically like to look at Zodiac stuff. I mean, I've looked at it here and there over the years as I've seen things in the news, just to confirm what I remember, things like that, just very lightly. And I do that intentionally because I want to remember it all for myself. And of course, I always have remembered it for myself when I started remembering. I mean, I blocked it all out for years and years. And at a certain age, I started remembering. And I'm trying to remember. I mean, it was one of my earliest, well, not earliest, but I started remembering that my father was the Zodiac years ago. I mean, I'm thinking like around 2000, the year 2000. That's what I'm thinking. It's been 23 years or something. It's the memories were not complete at first. I when I first started remembering, I used to write to the newspapers. It was before Facebook and things like that. Yeah, so it would have been around 2000, right? That would be about right, because Facebook wasn't until a few years later, right? And I would write to the newspapers. I would post. I would send letters to the newspaper like the Zodiac, and they just all I mean, they might have known it was me, but obviously I didn't remember everything yet. It's taken me all this time to really fill in the gaps. That's how I deal with trauma, and I went through extreme trauma as a young child, and really I shouldn't have survived. A young child witnessing violent murders, being splattered with blood. I mean, I don't know how I'm a good person today. I don't know why I'm alive today, but I am to tell the story. And I speak for the Zodiac, who passed away in 2020. And right up front, I want to apologize to, I don't really want to apologize to my stepmother, okay? She was the one that chose to marry my father. Maybe she didn't have very many options in her 20s, and he was the best thing going. And, she had a deadline. She had to get married before age 30. She got married just before her 30th birthday, just in the nick of time. He agreed to marry her, and he did. By the way, I'm drinking my Mountain Dew today. That's my drink. I don't like to drink Mountain Dew. It's very bad for you. I don't recommend it to you. And it's when things get really intense for me that I break down and have a Mountain Dew. I don't think it's good, and I have to have minor surgery on one of my breasts because I have an area. It's not cancer, but it's good to get it out before it might become cancer. It might never become cancer, but it could, and I just want to have it out now while I'm younger and not older. Because you just don't know how it'll go. It's been a situation for a long time, but, never anything to worry about until this year when there was a slight shift. So anyway, I don't recommend Mountain Dew. I don't recommend Splenda. I use those items and sometimes Mountain Dew. And I don't recommend it. And I vowed to stop consuming them when I found out about this. Of course, it's all the stress, too. I know I'm talking not about Zodiac, but I just wanted to get that out of the way. So I have a stepmother who's about 6 years older than me, I think. I was 17 and she was 23 when I met her. And my father actually married her, and, you know, I have no contact with my family anymore. My father, I didn't even know my own father died when he did. Nobody informed me. Nobody cared to inform me. I have, my father ended up having 3 kids with my stepmother. They got married in 1989. And I haven't met my youngest sibling. They, getting used to it, she, non-gender. They were transitioning to become male, but it's hard. Okay, it's hard for me. They are now non-gender, right? Is that right? Did I say that right? I don't know. I don't know. Sorry, I'm from a generation that... By the way, I want to inform my non-gender sibling that my brother Mark cross-dressed since he was a little boy. I caught him once on a city bus with his friend dressed up as a girl. It all started with me. We used to, you know, swap clothes, and I was Joe and he was Mary, you know, because Mark and Mary are very close in spelling, and, you know, he's been Mary ever since, I guess. I don't have that issue, but yeah, it runs in the family. It's a genetic thing. And people don't understand this. This is what I understand. This is what I've been informed of. It's a gene that is not triggered unless there's sexual abuse in the, you know, sexual abuse triggers this gene. And this is something my stepmother probably doesn't want to hear. And this is why she has 2 sons and a non-gender child today, because her non-gender child, that is the result of trauma, of sexual abuse. And I know she probably doesn't want to face that, but it is genetic, but it doesn't get triggered unless there's something in the environment like sexual abuse to trigger it. That's what I've been informed. And this is, you know, this is not public information. This is top secret information. This is classified. The CIA knows a lot more than our health community lets on. I'm sure a lot of doctors are in on it, but, you know, it's not public information. You'll be, you know, whenever I make a video on this channel, I am revealing classified information. I am one of the only, I guess I am the only person who can speak freely. You know, there was a loophole in the law that enabled CIA operatives to disclose classified information to minors, and that was me when I was growing up, of course. So, and my father, Dennis Elliott, was a CIA operative, CIA hitman, and he told me everything. I mean, I certainly don't remember every detail, but it's in here somewhere. And you know, I was surrounded by CIA operatives my whole life. FBI, I have a FBI special agent assigned to me since, like, I guess since 1975. You know, anyway, I know my stepmother thinks that I want to destroy her life or something, but, you know, the public has a right to know who the Zodiac Killer is, or was. And, you know, I was doing a little research in prep, you know, like a couple weeks ago when I was going to do this live stream originally. And I was really shocked at how confused the public is about the Zodiac. There have been so many people that have been proposed as the true identity of the Zodiac. I've been around for decades talking about my story, and, you know, the media knows about me, but because I'm classified, they can't print it. They can't publicize it. Everybody's hands are tied. It's a really pathetic situation. And, but I've been talking about it for years, for decades. And I've reported it to the police. The police have questioned my entire family. And this is why my entire family has made, like my stepmother, she has made sure that I have had no contact with her children. And I mean, I understand, if a child is a minor, they might have a hard time coping with this reality, knowing that their own father might have a double life. I don't know. My father had multiple personalities. He could act one way in your presence and walk out the door and be a totally different person. He was a monster. I mean, I knew the monster that was my father. He wanted to turn me into a monster, and it didn't quite work out. Unfortunately, he turned my brother, Mark, into a monster, and, I'm really sad about that. My brother is 2.5 years younger than me, and he was taught to be one of my abusers, and my whole family just thinks that I'm terrible. They think I'm the devil. I don't know what they think. My stepmother thinks that I want to ruin their lives or something. And, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you picked my father to marry. I don't know. I mean, you were a young woman, very attractive. I know you were an introvert. You probably weren't comfortable around guys like I was when I was young because, of my father putting me around boys all the time. And, I'm sorry about the way life worked out, and you didn't have many choices. Your mother wanted you to marry into money, and you thought my father had a lot of money. You just didn't understand it wasn't his money, right? And, you put pressure on him. 30 was your deadline. He married you it was Labor Day weekend, and that was, just a week before your birthday or your 30th birthday, something like that. I mean, very last second, right? But he did it, okay? And I was excited you were getting married, but, I know you don't think so, and you staged this whole thing to make it look like it was me who didn't want you all to get married, and, and this is how you removed me from my father's life, and my, you know how it goes. And you did me a favor because, I needed to live a separate life from my family, and it wasn't healthy for me to have monsters in my, in any kind of close proximity with me. And that's why, I've been able to heal to the point where I can tell my story today. All right, so this is hard, okay? I mean, I'm just shocked at all these professional groups of people. Code breakers, are they called? They're absolutely sure they know who it is. No, you got it all wrong, okay? The guy doesn't even look like, he doesn't even wear glasses, right? I mean, come on, that's one of the prominent features of the Zodiac Killer. He wears glasses, right? The guy they got, he's got some scar on his head, right? And they're saying that the drawing has some kind of line that lines up with his scar. I'm sure somebody somewhere, in fact, I think I know who it is, who might have just drew a little line because they knew that was going to be some kind of conspiracy theory. I know a lot of people who know what's going to happen in the future, and they do little things to lead people astray just because it makes for a more exciting adventure. No. Dennis Wayne Elliott, my father, born July 13th, 1941, died on Michael Jackson's birthday, August 29th, 2020, is the Zodiac Killer. I am telling the truth. I am telling you the truth. And I will, we'll go through everything so you understand. I pledge my honor. I'm telling you the truth. This is why, I shouldn't have been able to heal from this. And if anyone wants to know, if anyone in my family, Uncle Norm, he knows the truth. But, the rest of my family, if they want to know what's been bothering me all these years or what's been happening with Claire, what is she struggling with? This is it. Your Uncle Dennis, or Denny, we used to call him Denny, you know, Denny's Restaurants, Norm's Restaurant, you know, those are the original identities that inspired those names. Dennis the Menace. Yes, my father, Dennis, inspired that character. I'm serious. I come from my Hollywood, one of my genetic fathers. Okay, I have a lot of genetic fathers. This is the thing. I know that's very, like, weird and nobody can imagine it, but it's the truth. You can have more than one genetic father. That's why I'm of a very exclusive, rare lineage, okay? Because I have all these fathers, one mother, genetically speaking, and, you know, another mother gave birth to me, but, you know, I'm going to stop talking about all this stuff because it's just too much information for most people. And I just kind of want to, like, touch on a little bit here, a little bit there, so you kind of understand how complex the situation is. Okay. I figure I should just dive in. And I had saved some websites and I don't have them prepared. So I'm just going to go online and let me guess. I don't know if I can. Okay, why don't we just use this window? It's fine. Okay. Let's see. Can you? I don't know. I guess you can see this. I guess I gotta make this smaller so you can see. Well, it's too small, right? Let me just make it a little bigger here so we can share the experience together. Okay. Oh shit. Oh shit. That went out. Oh my god. Oh my god. I didn't read that. It pays to prepare, and I didn't prepare. Let me see if I can, like, get this window up, like, and take it off screen here so I can prepare this properly. Okay, let me get a brand new fresh window. Oh my gosh. Oh, how do I see? Oh, I'm not a professional. You can tell this, right? Let's see. How can I? Okay, new. How can I get? Oh shit. Sorry, I am totally, like, this is so bad. Oh my god, I can't believe that happened. Okay, wait. Okay, what is this? Okay, new window. That's what I need. Okay, and let me just get rid of the other one. Oh my god, I can't believe that. I'm so embarrassed how unprofessional I am. Okay, the other one's gone. I mean, as far as I can tell, I mean, I don't know. Oh, it's over. I don't know where the hell it is. Okay. And let me just shrink it down so you don't miss anything. Okay. All right. Something like this. Okay. Now, I gotta take it off screen. This is terrible. Oh. I can't believe that happened. Oh my god. Okay. Oh, can I clear that? I have to be able to clear this. Wait, let me just take it off that. Okay, let me see. Can I clear? Customize Chrome. What is this? Search by image. Oh, this is terrible. Okay, let me just do it off. Let me see. Can I remove that? I can't. How do I remove it? I don't know how to remove it. I mean, I know there's a way. Oh, this is terrible. Okay, I'm just gonna get myself off screen and figure this out. Just give me, like, just 2 minutes. It won't be long. I apologize. Hold on. Okay, I'm so sorry. I can't believe I did that. Okay, so I got it. I somehow deleted things, so you know, these are just trending searches. Okay, I'm happy with that. Okay, I don't know why. Let me see. What is this? Why is this separated? Okay, I'm gonna just do that. Okay. All right, so Zodiac, as you can see, I was looking up earlier the first Zodiac letters when I was writing my description. I wanted to know when the Zodiac wrote their first letters, so I would know like what age I was when he first started writing letters. But okay, Zodiac. Yeah, let's go to Zodiac Killer. Here we go. All right. What is the Zodiac Killer's real name? No, it's not! You got it wrong! Okay, the Zodiac Killer's identity has been reportedly found by the FBI. They believe that although the infamous murderer was active during the 1960s, has passed away, the main suspect is thought to be Air Force veteran Gary Francis Post. Who says that? That is not what they say. Okay, look, he put, who does the FBI think, whoops, is the Zodiac Killer? Watch. Case breakers. Okay, that is not the FBI. They assure that their information is solid. Magazine, the FBI has a DNA sample that matches. They have a DNA sample, yes, but they don't. Okay, watch. FBI. No. When was this? May 18th. No. Failed to investigate. Right. See, it's this group that is like trying to crowd up the airwaves. Okay. Right. The group claims FBI identified Zodiac Killer as Air Force, whatever. But the FBI says that they won't speak publicly about it anymore to protect the victims and their families. Okay, so this is the FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation, their website. Okay, so hunt for clues. Okay, the records in the Zodiac case, meanwhile, are just a sample of what is available for your review. Okay, Zodiac research. Okay, but what does it say? The seemingly random brutal murders of 5 people. It's only 5? God, it seemed like it was so much more. And he became so notorious, didn't he? In California's Bay Area in 1968 and 1969. That's it? It was only 2 years? It seems like forever. And a series of taunting, cryptic notes sent by their killer terrorized Northern California for years. The self-proclaimed Zodiac Killer sent local newspapers a 3-part coded message explaining his motive for the killings in 1969, and in a separate letter to the editor suggested his identity. Let me make this larger because this is really small. Let's see, where are we? Okay, coded. Okay, so the self-proclaimed Zodiac Killer sent local newspapers a 3-part coded message explaining his motive for the killings in 1969, and in a separate letter to the editor suggested his identity was buried within an elaborate cipher message. The decoded message did indeed reveal the killer's twisted motive, but his identity remains a mystery. This is the FBI, FBI.gov. Okay, that's what they're saying. Okay. Now they know who they know about me. I was assigned an FBI special agent in 1975. They've always known who the real Zodiac is, and they've known was his confidant. I was a little toddler, who wrote his letters, advised him on what I thought, and helped him write them, and I wrote them in my own handwriting. They've always known this, but I didn't always remember, okay? And they had to keep, the cover, because, I'm like a star witness of a lot of cases, okay? My father is involved in a lot of cases, and I got involved in the life of another serial killer, which I won't get into right now, but all of you know about Bryan Kohberger. He has a true identity. He's actually a disguise. But his true identity was my ex-boyfriend who brutally murdered my brand new husband, Ron Goldman, in 1994. And I believe he is turning himself in with this Idaho 4 case. And it's really sad that more people had to die. That was not what I had in mind. But anyway, let's get back to this. Okay, so the self-proclaimed Zodiac Killer sent local... Okay, I just read that paragraph. So, but his identity remains a mystery. This is the FBI. The unsolved nature of the murders and the Zodiac Killer's elaborate methods of communicating with the public and his pursuers still captures the imaginations of screenwriters, authors, true crime buffs, forensic scientists, and, of course, law enforcement. The murders did not fall under federal jurisdiction, so the FBI never opened an investigation. But a glance through the FBI's public records on the case shows how local law enforcement agencies called on the FBI's expertise in handwriting analysis, cryptanalysis, and fingerprints to aid their investigations. The FBI's role in 1969, much as it is today, was to support local law enforcement in their investigations. In the Zodiac Killer case, correspondence between law enforcement agencies in Northern California and forensic experts at the FBI's laboratory in what was then called the Technical Evaluation Unit shows our efforts to analyze, this is the FBI, to analyze handwriting samples and lift latent fingerprints from the letters and envelopes sent by the purported killer. And they've obtained enough DNA and fingerprints. And of course, my Uncle Norm's hair is under a stamp. If you recall, there was hair. And I watched my father put that hair under that stamp. And I was so worried that they would think that my Uncle Norm was the Zodiac Killer. I was so upset about that as a young child. Okay. Okay. Where was I? FBI cryptanalysis or code breakers were also enlisted to unravel a complex cipher that used more than 50 shapes and symbols to represent the 26 letters of the alphabet. Ultimately, the code was made public and broken by 2 university professors. But then, as now, the case illustrates the extent of partnerships between the FBI and other law enforcement agencies. Here's a look at just some of the ways we support our partners in investigations. Behavioral analysis. Local police call on the FBI profilers or behavioral analysts at the FBI laboratory for help and advice when leads in their criminal cases turn cold or fray into infinite possibilities. Read more about it. Okay, if you click there, you read more about it. Fingerprint analysis. Our integrated automated fingerprint identification system is the largest biometric database in the world, containing the fingerprints and corresponding criminal history information for more than 47 million subjects. And you can click to read more about it. And then there's the criminal background checks. More than 90,000 agencies are connected to the FBI's massive computerized database of fingerprints, mugshots, crime records, and parole and probation information. We run the host computer at our Criminal Justice Information Services facility in West Virginia. And you can read more about that if you click there. And cryptanalysis, code breakers at the FBI. Notice I guess that's the term, and that's why that group calls themselves that, because they want to be affiliated with the FBI. It's, I consider it kind of a scam to claim that they know. I mean, why are they trying to insert, their so-called opinion when they don't really have all the information that the FBI has? I mean, I think they just made up this story that some FBI agent told them that it was this person, because they're trying to make it that person. Why would they be trying to do that? To protect my father? To confuse the public? To take credit? Do they get some kind of credit? Or I don't know. I mean, they don't have all the information, clearly, because, yo, here I am. Hello, hello. I guess they just want Claire to go away and die. I don't know. All right, so code breakers at the FBI laboratory analyze and decipher codes used. This is, okay, there's a typo there. Used in the commission of crimes, including kidnappings, gang communications, espionage, and terrorism. And you can read more about it if you click the link there. The records in the Zodiac case, meanwhile, are just a sample. They're just a sample. Not all the information they have on the Zodiac is made public. And not all FBI agents know all that the FBI has. Okay, I want to point that out. Are just a sample of what is available for your review in our electronic reading room, which contains thousands of records, including our probes of famous persons available through the Freedom of Information Act. Resources: Zodiac Killer Files, Research, FBI Records and Information, FBI Laboratory. Okay, so it's still unsolved, and it seems like just a couple weeks ago I got more when I searched for it. Let's see okay, so I think what I'm trying to remember what I searched. Has the Zodiac, sorry. I'm typing at an angle. Right, here we go. The murderer has been a figure of fascination as he committed 5 murders over the space of 2 years. Gosh, that doesn't seem like very many murders now, does it? I mean, that's really sad that it doesn't seem like very many now. And subsequently was never caught. Okay, that's May 18th, 2023. This is Hello Magazine. Wow, Hello Magazine is not the most reliable source, but they got that right. Let me see this little poster here. Wanted. Let's see. I just want to see it. I don't think I can enlarge it. Well, I don't want to pull up the whole article. Okay. Well, anyway. Okay. It's amazing how... Okay, see, USA Today says the Zodiac Killer's identity remains a mystery. Okay. So, and here's this guy. Look at this guy. He doesn't look anything like him. How does that even resemble the Zodiac Killer? Come on. Look at that. That doesn't look like him. Look at the even the shape of the face is wrong. Everything's wrong. And who's this guy? That's the same guy, right? When he was younger. He doesn't even have a high enough forehead. Look at how high the forehead is. Okay. Look at this. Wait, look at this. Wait. Oh, I want to click. What is wrong with this? Okay. I want to get this one. It's Ted Cruz. I think that's so funny. Yeah, Ted Cruz, yes. Yes, Ted Cruz. Is that a joke? I think it's hilarious. Oh, and it's not Ted Cruz. Okay, well. All right, well, okay, let's stop kidding around. Let's get to the Zodiac Killer letters. I think I saved, maybe it was the Codebreakers website that I saved, but I don't want to give them any publicity. Okay, Zodiac Killer letters. Okay, I know the Codebreakers are going to be the first ones. I didn't want images there. Okay, this is zodiackiller.com. Okay. All All right. I want to say, you know, okay, I had this website all saved when I was going to do this live stream a few weeks ago. There is a guy who solved, he's like a, what is he, a French engineer or something? He solved, I think it's this one. He solved this. Wait, was it this one? No, this is not the one. It was a group of Kohbergers. Right. Okay, but there was one last one that nobody could solve, and a French guy did it. And he did. Everyone's saying, oh, he didn't do it. Everybody just like ignored him and made fun of him. But he did. And I did see that recently. Okay, I want the Zodiac. We'll get into that. Okay, that's another thing. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not really prepared, and it's good that I'm not prepared. Okay, because you want this fresh. I didn't prepare this at all. Okay, so these are all the letters. Oh, this is great. Okay, this is May 78. I don't know. Okay, this is the first one. So that means, see, I thought it was, I was 3 years old when it started, and I was surprised I was so old. I have to correct my description. Is this the first one, 1967? Oh, these are letters, envelopes. Riverside desktop poem. Is this all of it? Okay. Well, let's just click it. See, okay, what is this? Riverside, California. Bates had to die. There will be more. So is this supposed to be Zodiac? And it's 1967. So I was younger. So maybe that's why the handwriting is not as neat as it became later. Not that it was very neat. It was still a child's handwriting, right? I mean, nobody talks about that anymore. How sloppy. And I mean, I was very advanced to be able to write so well at age 3 or whatever. But okay, April 30th, 1967. I was born on October 21st, 1965. So that year I would have turned 2. So this would have been when I was still 1. Turning 2, right? I had 6 more. I was 1.5. Okay, is this supposed to be? And we did not live in Riverside, California. We lived in Northern California. When I was born in Mountain View, California, at El Camino Hospital on El Camino Real in Mountain View, California. Okay, and we lived in Los Altos. That's lived there until I was about 2.5. And then at age 2.5, which was in 1968, around the time, just before my brother was born, my brother Mark is younger than me. I know he likes to think that he's the only child of my parents and that, you know, I don't exist. And if I do exist, he's the older, wiser, you know, person that everyone should listen to and that I should be discounted. Yeah, he was born, well, actually, he wasn't born on his birthday, March 18th, 1968. He was actually born later, 2 weeks later, approximately. It was my brother, my full-blooded brother, who was born on March 18th, 1968. My mother, you know, was injected with heroin and drank hard liquor, you know, gin in particular, straight from the bottle, and my brother would not have survived her pregnancy. It was my full-blooded brother who did, and he didn't actually. They cut her off cold turkey with the heroin, and me too, by the way, because they were injecting me every Freaky Friday. I realize now that it was, you know, because I was born a heroin addict, and I guess they couldn't just cut me off at birth, right? And I guess I understand that now. I used to think it was just so horrible that they would inject a baby with heroin, but if you're born a heroin addict, you have to have heroin, right? And so they would give me a little baby dose along with my mother, who had a dose every Freaky Friday. And when she got pregnant again, because my twin didn't do very well, and they wanted, and this is why my full-blooded brother, my full brother, did not get to grow up with me. See, I was born a triplet. I was the firstborn. I was the only normal, healthy baby at birth, okay? I was not the biggest baby. My twin was the biggest baby, but she was abnormal and unhealthy. And my mother, as a result, only kept me, the firstborn. And she gave up my twin and our triplet brother up for adoption at birth. And my triplet brother like fit in the palm of your hand, and they didn't know he was going to make it. It was 1965, you know, they didn't have the technology they have today. And his only chance was to be shipped down to the Dominican Republic to grow up near the equator, where the nutrients in the food, you know, and the plants down there, you know, are greater than in other parts of the globe. So that's why they shipped him down there. I used to think it was horrible that they shipped him down to the Dominican Republic, and he was an American citizen. And he later immigrated to the United States at age 5 with his mother, and he had a green card, and I had to marry him to make him a citizen. Okay, that's why they wanted me to marry him, and I didn't remember everything. I didn't know I was marrying my triplet brother. Believe me, he didn't know I was his triplet sister. It wasn't until later that I remembered everything. This is how I cope with my trauma. I block it out. It's like a method I was taught at a very young age to cope so I could grow up. And then later on, when I was able to deal with all the trauma, I would remember it as I was ready to face it, right? So anyway, I ended up married to my triplet brother. I divorced him, you know, still not knowing he was my triplet brother. But yeah, we got divorced. Okay, so and it's so funny, my twin, I know it's complicated, but you know, there are ways to be in different bodies. I know that sounds really like, wow, you know, nobody knows about it. It seems so crazy just to think about. But yes, you can be put in another body. It's like a disguise, but you're actually in another body. And so people, you know, it's like your psyche is like put in another body. I know. And I ended up in a relationship with my twin as he was as a boy. You know, he was a guy I went out with when I was, how old was I? I don't know. It was like 91. So I was 20 in 85 and 25 in 90. So I was like 26. Is that right? No, it wasn't. I was 25. And yeah, I was 25, right? It was right after I got hit by the speeding red Jaguar on the Marina Peninsula. Yeah, it was after that. And yeah, that was my twin in a guy's body, in a man's body. I mean, she was 15 at the time. And yeah, I broke up with him, okay? And yeah, so it's like my ex-husband and my ex-boyfriend are my triplet brother and my twin. My twin is, you know, she's always in the past. She's wanted to be a boy, and I just saw her walking today like a boy. She's my neighbor, and she's been my neighbor for like over 2.5 years, and I just finally realized she's who she is. Just on May 3rd of this year. And today is August 16th. Anyway, yeah, she was walking just like a boy today. I know, I wasn't going to say anything. I won't be posting my twin sightings anymore. I know she's very annoyed by that. I won't do it anymore. You know, I walked away from, I gave up on my twin in 2002, and here she is on my street, you know, and she's leading a fake identity. She lives the life of a fake identity. She has a fake family, and, you know, she's always had a lot of support because she was an ill child, you know, everybody coddled her. She's just had everything handed to her. Well, I've lived the impossible life, and everybody blames me for that. You know, it's just very annoying. Okay, so really sloppy handwriting, right? Maybe because a baby wrote it. Okay. April 30th, 1969. I was, yeah, my April 21st would have been my half birthday. I was a year and a half. I guess, you know, that's pretty good writing for a year and a half year old, right? Okay. All right. So if that's the first one, okay, is that it? Am I missing anything? Okay. So that was an envelope. Okay, here's two. Okay. She had to die. There will be more. Okay. What is that? Okay, the first one, I just want to see what the first one said. It's say Bates had to die. There will be more. Okay. And then 3. I don't know what. Riverside Police Department, Riverside, California. Yeah, see. Whew. Pretty good for a year and a half year old, don't you think? It's pretty impressive. Why is there 3 pages? Was it 3 times that it was sent out 3 times? And these are just different versions sent to different people. This is Bates. Oh. Yeah, see how sloppy that is? It's a baby, a year and a half year old baby. Thank you very much. I think that's pretty good for a year and a half year old, right? Okay, so we've looked at the different things. Okay, here's that was 67. This is December 66. Okay, I would have been a little over a year here. Is this right? Let's see. Sick of living, unwilling to die. Cut, clean. Okay, this does not look like a baby's. Our age. What is this? Cut, clean. If red, clean, blood spurting, dripping, spilling all over her new dress. Oh well, it was red anyway. Life draining into an uncertain death. She won't die this time. Someone will find her. Just wait till next time. RH. Okay, found December 1966. Place Riverside City College Library, Riverside, California. Okay, so what does that mean? Okay, so they're saying that it's him. Okay, that might not be right. Okay, and this is the second page here. Okay, where is it? Okay. So it's really tiny, is what they're saying. Okay, 4 inches, 4.5 inches long. Okay. I'm just curious to know what the significance of that is. I mean, okay, so they think that's him, and let's just review. I'm just looking back on this one a little bit, just so we can see. Does it look anything like that? Let's see. Just making sure. Okay, it has that. Okay. No, I do not remember actually writing these particular things. It's like a vague thing. Okay, now this is July 31st, 1969. This is the Times Herald. Are they doing this in order? Okay, they are. Okay, so here's the letter. Okay, dear editor. Okay, so this is definitely, I believe this is, okay, oh, it says click here to continue. So did I miss anything from the previous? Let me just go back, because I'm thinking maybe no, there was no continue. Okay, and then this one, did it have any continue? No. Okay. Oh, it has a go back, where I can go back. No? Okay, there it is. Okay. All right, so dear editor. Why is it so, what is all this? Oh, I guess it's ink on the back of it that's bled through. Okay, I am the killer of the, they should have it like Somebody should write this out so that you can read it better. I am the killer of the 2 Christmas. See, I misspelled things, you know, like Christ Mass of late. See, I can't read this very well. Can you? Let me see if I can. Okay, I have it at 100%. Okay, so girl was wearing. See, I can't even read it. Can you? I mean, I need to print this. See, look at, I didn't even keep a straight line. I mean, who does that, right? And here, click here to continue. How can you read this? See. All right. Go back. All right. Cipher. Yeah, this was my father. It wasn't me. This was my father. He spent a lot of time doing this, and here's somebody's key, right? Yeah, he spent a lot of time doing this. You know, it's easier to make one of these things than it is to solve it. I'll just put it that way. He spent a lot of time, you know, instead of studying. I mean, he was going to Stanford. He was he got his master's in engineering at Stanford University, and instead of studying, he would just do stuff like this, you know. He spent a lot of time on it. I didn't help him with that. This was his thing. Okay, so July 31st, 1969. So I'm getting close to my 4th birthday now. So I'm 3 here. It's San Francisco, California, Vallejo Times Herald. Solved. Right. Okay, good. All right, go back. And let me see the envelope. Okay. Please rush to editor. Yeah, it's really amazing how easy it was to get the attention of editors and people who would publicize your story. I mean, boy, what an innocent time it was back then. Now I, you know, can't even get my story out for the life of me. Okay, chronicle letter. Let's go through here. Okay, here. This is better. This is easier to read. Why is it so much clearer? I guess that was his first one. Okay, this is the murder of the 2 teenagers last Christmas. See, I'm putting 2 S's for math. At Lake Herman, and the girl on the 4th of July near the golf course in Vallejo. To prove I killed them, I shall state. Okay, what? Okay, so I'm 3, almost getting close to 4 years old here. So I had been working on my penmanship. I just want to clarify. I had a tutor. My parents didn't pay for this tutor. This tutor was my daddy. And my secret language with the Zodiac, with my father, Dennis, was Japanese. That was my first language, and I spoke it clearly at age 6 months. The time that I was sketched as the Gerber baby by Gary Murray, who is a big leader in the SGI. He was a young kid at that time, long before he ever started chanting. Daddy selected him. Daddy, who's Daddy? Daddy is Jose Toda. Let's just get down to the bottom of it. Jose Toda supposedly died in 1958. However, he decided to take up residence in another body. He was the double of one of my many genetic fathers, Bert Fields. Bert Fields was born as the older twin of Queen Elizabeth, who was my older sister and my genetic grandmother, my older genetic sister, and my genetic grandma, as well as my quote-unquote descendant, because one of her ancestors is my genetic father. I know it's very complex and really weird. As a result, I had full authority over both her and her older sister, who was my grandma, Elliott Willis. All of us have had the same, all of us share one genetic father. King George the sixth or fifth or something? Wait, the fifth was King George the Fifth was the father, right? And the sixth was the son, and right. It's really complicated. Anyway, we all are sisters as the result, but I have authority over all of them. I supersede all of them because I have so many other genetic fathers that were their ancestors, etc. And so that's why I supersede them all. And, you know, it's not like I'm into that stuff, but just letting you understand what's going on here. Okay, so I had a tutor, and Jose Toto was the best. You know, he took residence in, you know, the body of Bert Fields. There used to be two Bert Fields. I used to call one real daddy and fake daddy, even though fake daddy was actually the guy born as my genetic father, the older twin of Queen Elizabeth. But daddy, you know, the real daddy was Jose Toto, who was the second, who was like the carbon copy of Bert Fields. And at a certain point, they used to be they're the true identity of High Priest Nitatsu. And when Nitatsu was murdered in 1979, making me high priestess, the very first high priestess of all of Buddhism. I call myself the high priestess of life. It was fake daddy who died. He was the one wearing the disguise that day, and real daddy lived until October 12th, 1985, after he knew I was married to my triplet brother. Then he deprived himself of, he kind of committed suicide, deprived himself of food and water, and died a natural death on October 12th, 1985. And his ashes are sprinkled on, over the lake that we used to sit in front of whenever I spent time with him in Highgate, London, England, where he had his favorite place in the whole wide world. He used to tell me, and he had kind of a split level apartment that overlooked all of London. It was a beautiful place, and I so much wanted to move to England and be his daughter, permanently and forever in England. But the plan was for me to grow up in America, and we chanted for me to be in England and stay in England. And he wanted me to know what happens when we chant. And, what happens when we chant is we negate ourselves and the opposite happens. So he wanted me to remember that. And his ashes were sprinkled over that lake that we used to sit in front of ever since I was a baby. Anyway, he was my tutor. And now, okay, so when he passed away in 1985, he became Clint Eastwood 100% of the time. I know it sounds really wacky, but actually, it's kind of weird because, I know his ashes are sprinkled over there, but Clint Eastwood is daddy. I mean, I've realized that in recent years. I mean, I knew he was daddy, but I thought he was a disguise. But that is daddy's real body. So when he was Bert Fields, he was really him. But I'm a little confused, to be honest. I really am. I don't understand why his ashes are sprinkled in our lake, our little pond, and yet he still lives as Clint Eastwood. I mean, unless Clint Eastwood is a disguise, or unless that's really not his body, but he looked just like Clint Eastwood, and it took me a long time to admit that Clint Eastwood is Daddy. I had a really hard time with that because in my mind, Daddy was a lot shorter. I don't know. Because I think Daddy intentionally wanted me to be unclear, and because it's all top secret, and he didn't want me to be believable. And so he would change things, and it makes me seem like I'm unreliable in my memory process, but I'm not. He just wanted the secret to stay secret. But I mean, I've always known that Clint Eastwood is Daddy. I've always been told that, well, when I was a child, I was told. But it's only been recently, in the last year or two, that I've really faced the fact that, oh, that is really what Daddy looks like. Because he would change his appearance. He wore disguises. He was a CIA operative, and he did a lot. It's just, and I know it sounds so unbelievable, and it's embarrassing, but I can just tell you my story and let you judge for yourself, and maybe, as things evolve and things are made public, you'll understand how difficult this has been for me to tell my story. But okay, so he was my magnificent teacher. Okay, President Ikeda, who is one of my genetic fathers as well, he's the president of the SGI. I'm the other president. I'm the one that did all the work and behind the scenes. He was just the public president that gets credit for all my work and everything. And I love President Ikeda Sensei. I do. It's just been really frustrating to be swept under the rug and hidden away, and tortured and everybody just wants me to go away, and they just don't want me to exist. And all the people who I was allowed to participate in a lot of I co-founded, co-wrote, co-this, co-that, co-produced, I've done so much. I was given the opportunity to do so much as a child in the 70s in particular. And it's been only adults that have taken credit for my work. I guess that's a compliment. But, I was a child prodigy, and I'm an adult prodigy now. I know, believe it or not. I know people think, oh, she, with all this torture, she has to be like barely hanging on. She must be brain injured or something. Yeah, it's a miracle. But, the universe has a way of pulling you through when you have a very big mission for the sake of world peace. But anyway, Jose Toda, who is Daddy, who is Clint Eastwood. I know, amazing, right? It sounds so unbelievable to everybody in society. I know. He was the best teacher in existence. And, that's why I was writing so well at age, I was 3, almost 4. And look, I'm writing straighter now. See, I'm not as crooked. I probably learned no, I'm still a little crooked, but I'm getting better, right? Age 3, almost 4. Yeah, I had 3 more months, less than 3 months before I turned 4 writing this letter. Okay, so just I want you to understand why I was writing so well at such a young age. It's only because of my mentor, teacher, Jose Toda. aka Clint Eastwood, okay? All right, dear editor, this is the murderer of the two teenagers last Christmas. I guess Daddy must have explained what Christmas was. It was a mass, right? Christ Mass. At Lake Herman, and the girl, I was using a little cross there, little plus, on the 4th of July near the golf course in Vallejo. I must have had to look up that spelling to prove I killed them. I shall state some facts which only I and the police know. Christmas. Brand name of ammo, Super X. 10 shots were fired. 3. The boy was on his back with his feet to the car. 4. The girl was on her right side, feet to the west. 4th July. 1. Girl was wearing patterned slacks. 2. The boy was also shot in the knee. 3. Brand name of ammo was Western over. Here is part of a cipher. The other 2 parts of this cipher are being mailed to the editors at the Vallejo Times plus San Francisco Examiner. See, I wasn't very good at the dashes, right? When you can't fit a word, you're supposed to put a little dash, little hyphen after exa, and then minor, right? You're supposed to do that, right? I want you to print this cipher on the front page of your paper. In this cipher is my identity. If you do not print this cipher by the afternoon of Fry, it's a kid, right? I was 4 years old, not even 4 years old. Fry 1st at August 69. I will go on a killing ram page. Friday night. I'm not laughing. This is not funny. I will, and this reminds me of Elliot Rogers a little bit, right? I will chase around all weekend, or I will crash. Okay, around all weekend, killing lone people in the night, then on to kill again until two L's at the end of until I end up with a dozen people over the weekend. Okay. All right. And then the zodiac sign. Okay. All right. Okay, and this is the cipher that contains his identity, and right? Is that what it's supposed to be? This is solved. Part 2, cipher key, and okay, is this what it is? Okay, I don't see how. I don't know. Anyway, I didn't do any of the ciphers, so okay. Envelope. Let's see that the envelope looks. See, look at how tidy and clean that looks compared. Please rush to editor. So that must have been the back of the envelope right there, and then the front. See, look, it looks like a child. Why do you think that an adult would write like that? Just to be all sloppy and weird, I guess, is what people thought. That's a child, clearly. Okay. All right, here's dear editor, I am the killer of the two. Wait, isn't that the same thing? Yeah, it's the same thing, right? Okay, so this is, he sent the same thing to the other paper, right? Something like that. An envelope. Let me just see what it looks like. Yeah, same thing. Okay. Page 3. Yeah, my father considered me to be his slave. He used to tell me that. I have killed, will become my slaves. He always used to think I was his slave. I will not give you my name because you will try to slow down or stop collecting, stop me or something collecting of slaves for my afterlife. I don't know, it just seems like a waste of time to read it. Okay, August 1969, debut of Zodiac Letter. Okay, so this is a new one. This is August 4th. What were the previous ones? They were August 31st. Dear editor, this is really sloppy. This is the Zodiac speaking. In answer to your asking for more details about the good times I have had in Vallejo, I shall be very happy to supply even more materials. By the way, are the police having a good time with the code? If not, tell them to cheer up when they... What are the... Look at this. The semicolon. Obviously, I didn't know how to use it. When they... Well, sort of. If not, tell them to cheer up. When they do crack it, they will have more? I don't know what that says. On the 4th of July, I did not open the car door. The window was rolled down all the way already. 2 L's on all. The boy was originally sitting in the front seat when I began firing. When I found the first shot on his... When I fired the first shot on his head, he leaped backwards at some time. At the same time, thus spoiling my aim. I can't read it. He something messed up them the floor and back, thrashing very violently with his legs. That's how I shot him in the... So, what is all these smudges? I mean, it makes it so hard to read. And the knees. I will leave the something of the killing with squealing tires. The scene, was it the scene, the crime of the killing with squealing tires. Oh, so that's why Bryan Kohberger squealed away. It was an homage to Zodiac, because, you know, his true identity is, you know, started his career as the copycat Zodiac Killer, and he told me that himself. And racing, I don't know, in the Vallejo paper, I drove away slowly, so not to whatever, draw attention to my car. The man who, the man who told the police that my car was brown was a Negro, about 40 to 45, rather shabby dress and was at this phone booth having some fun with the Vallejo cop when he was walking by. When I hung the phone up, the ring. So something drew his attention to me in my car. Okay. Last Christmas, in that episode, the police were wondering. They did not. I don't know. I don't really like reading these letters. I'm sorry. I don't really like it. It's just so blurred and no address. Okay. Yeah, it's not necessary for me to read all this stuff. It's just, I don't remember, writing any of this stuff, honestly. I just remember writing the letters and writing what he wanted me to write. That's it. It wasn't me. It wasn't my words. It was, my dad would tell me what to write down. I was in his den, at his desk. He had a wooden table desk that he had for years and years and years when we were growing up. And, he had all his, X-Acto blades and things. He was an engineer, and, he had all this equipment, to, he was an electrical engineer, and, he would be writing diagrams and things at his desk. And, this is the desk where I wrote all his letters. He would tell me, he didn't want, if he had written them himself, I guess, his handwriting could have been tracked down, but because I wrote them, it kind of concealed his identity, right? And I don't remember. What I remember was the very end, when we get to the letter that I really remember, I was older. I just kind of wrote what he wanted me to write, and, that was it. And I would just write what he wanted. He didn't really ask for my input when I was younger, like he did when I was older. I mean, we're just talking a couple of years, but, Daddy actually encouraged him. He was the one that suggested that I should write the letters. Daddy did. And I guess it documents my penmanship. Daddy knew that, I'm talking about Daddy, Jose Tota, Clint Eastwood. He knew my father was the Zodiac Killer. My father chanted, and, in Nichiren Buddhism, it's the only religion, the only philosophy that claims that even devils can become enlightened. And, this is in the Lotus Sutra. I say I'm the Zodiac Killer's daughter, and I am, but I'm also the Dragon King's daughter. My father's like the Dragon King of the Lotus Sutra. And the Dragon Girl, Dragon King's daughter, is also known as the Dragon Girl. She's the first one in the Lotus Sutra to become enlightened. She's a child, she's a girl, and she's a dragon. And she's the first one to become enlightened. These are the kinds of people that it was said it was impossible for them to become enlightened. In the Lotus Sutra, they were all these learned men in the ceremony in the air, as they call it. These men who just thought they knew it all. And, if they didn't know it, it didn't exist. It was their attitude. They were very arrogant. They were trapped in the worlds of learning and realization, which are considered the two vehicles. There are 10 worlds in Buddhism. The lowest is hell and the highest is Buddhahood. And learning and realization are there are 4 upper worlds. The 4 highest worlds is learning, realization, bodhisattvahood, and Buddhahood. And the thing about learning and realization, it's all about you. It's not about anyone outside yourself. But you can't become a Buddha until you enter bodhisattvahood, which is all about everyone else. It's not, you kind of negate yourself. It's kind of like Mother Teresa. She's the the epitome of bodhisattvahood. Like it's all about the children. You know, it's not about her. She's like she sacrifices herself for others. And if you don't have that kind of heart, you can't become a Buddha. That's the lesson here. You know, yeah, if it's all about you learning, oh yeah, I'm so smart. I know all this information. I've got my PhD, that's what learning is, knowing a lot of facts, having a lot of information on the brain, right? And then realization is realizing, putting, that information together to have realizations and understandings that other people don't have. But it's operating within yourself. All of that is something internal. It's separate from outside yourself, right? And so that's how people in learning and realization really get lost. They get lost inside their head, and they start to think, that they're better than other people. They get arrogant. It's a real trap. I mean, not everybody in learning, all of us have moments of learning and moments of realization, we hope. Because, you can't have that either. You need to have learning and realization to be a Buddha too. It's all, you need all the worlds, honestly, to be a Buddha. But, it's the proportion, we hope that hell is just like a very small dot, here on the side, right? You're always going to have, sufferings, suffer what there is to suffer. And what is it that ghost show? It's the writings of Nichiren Daishonin. Suffer what there is to suffer. And I'm forgetting it, but the Buddhists out there, the Nichiren Buddhists out there, know which passage in the writings of Nichiren Daishonin I'm referring to. Suffer what there is to suffer. And I used to recite this with the boyfriend who actually was my 15-year-old twin. That guy that I went out with before David Wayne Craig, who Bryan Kohberger is a disguise of. Before I went out with him, I went out with that guy that was my twin, and he used to recite that passage. It was about about honorable men. It was directed to men. And the men's division, I guess, and men's division used to recite it all the time, and they knew it by heart. And I used to recite it every morning with them, and I forget it now, but I remember that little part of it. And it looks like my husband, Dean, is at the door. One moment, please, while I figure out what's going on. I'm just going to put you on hold for just a minute. Hold on, okay? Hi. Dean. I love these strawberry Frosties. I don't eat them all the time. Dean loves them, and he's gotten, I go with him, and yeah, he's gotten me to love them too. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Dean.
Anything for Mom? Anything for Mom?
All right. All right, Dean, please. I'm in the middle of something, okay? All right, but please understand I'm in the middle of something. Okay. I don't want it to fall. I don't know what I was talking about. I don't remember what I was talking about before the doorbell rang. See, this is why it's important to not interrupt me, okay? What are you seeing? Okay. Yeah, I don't remember what I was talking about. So we're just going to go forward from here. Okay, what is this red mark? Okay, no address, as if it was whatever. I don't know what that's about. There's a parentheses. As if it was water. Yeah, I don't like reading these. Okay, I just don't. I just wrote what he wanted me to write. I just remembered that at this point in our we would speak in our secret language of Japanese. My mother didn't know I spoke Japanese. It was my first language because Daddy was the only one who spoke to me. My father, was at work, and then he'd come home and study. He was always busy. But my mother, she was always drinking, and, if she wasn't popping pills or being injected with heroin, she was not really available to me. I kind of had to cope up by myself. Daddy taught me how to toilet train myself. I never wore diapers, really. Just for appearance's sake, I wore a diaper, when company came over, so I looked like a normal baby. I really didn't use diapers. I had to. My mother wasn't available to change my diapers, so I had to learn how to use a toilet as a baby. I know it sounds really shocking, but that was my reality as a baby, okay? And Daddy taught me how to cope and to parent myself, really. I mean, yeah, I couldn't have ever done anything without him. He taught me everything. He showed up in my life as my tutor, and my mother kept firing him because I couldn't speak English correctly. I mean, when you're not spoken to in English, you don't learn English, okay? I did know English. I understood it. I was around it enough that I understood it and spoke it, but it was Japanese that I was so eloquent in because that's all that I spoke to Daddy in. And my father, before I was born, I'm talking about Dennis now, he learned Japanese in his early 20s in preparation for my birth, really. But he had a very severe American accent, but it became our secret language. My mother had no idea he spoke Japanese. Of course, she thought I spoke gibberish. That's what my father told her I did, but it was really Japanese. She didn't know I was this brilliant I was speaking clearly in Japanese, and I wouldn't shut up. And she just thought I was just speaking gibberish. And when I grew up, not when I grew up, when I went to nursery school, I couldn't even pronounce my own name correctly. Okay, and this is where I'm going to get into the guy who solved that cipher. Okay, so Japanese. Whoops, sorry. What am I doing? It's hard at an angle. I'm typing at an angle. Japanese pronunciation. Is it? Right. Of Claire. Okay, let's try that. Okay, there's Claire, and here's Claire, right? It'll play. Claire.
Oh, please.
Dean, why are you making fun of Japanese? What do you mean, oh, please? Why are you saying that? Why are you saying that, Dean? I didn't know I couldn't pronounce my own name because I only knew Japanese, and this is how Japanese people pronounce my name. Claire. They can't pronounce the L. Okay? Claire. Claire. And I believe, and I had always remembered it as being queer. Maybe I thought I had pronounced it queer. Because they can't pronounce, Japanese people, native Japanese, cannot pronounce the L. And this is how they pronounce it. Claire. But because I also knew English, American English, I omitted the L. And I just pronounced my name how? What is Claire without the L? Care.
Right.
It was like an Americanized version of this. Claire. I just said Care. My name is Care. And I do, once I realized that, okay, and it was really because this French guy solved the cipher, Zodiac cipher, that stated his name, because that was my name. That was the way I pronounced my name. And I had totally forgotten that until I looked it up, like what the solution to the cipher was that he came up with, that French engineer. And I'm going to look it up in a minute. And I had forgotten. I pronounced my name Care. And I remember Daddy saying, that's perfect because you care. You know, I remember him saying that. And I did not remember that until I looked at the solution for the cipher that this guy solved, that everybody says, oh, you got it wrong, you got it wrong. And they all ignored him, right? Poor guy. But he did. He used the key to the other ciphers to solve it. French. Okay, let's look him up. French engineer who claimed, I'm typing with one finger, sorry, it's just easier than doing this in an angle, claimed to solve Zodiac cipher. Please keep it down, Dean.
Talk to baby.
I know, but okay, his name is Ki11er, right? Okay, French engineer says he solved the Zodiac cipher. Here we go. Okay, many cast doubt on Ki11er's claim, but forensics may reveal the truth. Okay, let's get this going here. French engineer says he solved the Zodiac cipher that reveals the killer's name, but who was Lawrence Kane? Lawrence Kane, where did they get that? See, this is the problem. That is not the solution he got. Okay, so this is the Zodiac speaking. By the way, have you cracked the last cipher I sent you? My name is, and here's the cipher right here. Okay, the Z13 cipher, Faisal Zaroy claims he cracked ZodiacKillerCiphers.com. Okay, I guess I could go there. This is the second story in a part 2 series on the Zodiac. You can read the first installment, 12 Surprising Facts About Zodiac Killer here. Okay, that might be interesting for us to look at, but okay, let's just skip ahead. Where is it that... Okay, but where is the... Read with a free account. Oh, come on. Okay, let's just do this. No, I don't want that. I want, what is it? Zodiac Killer Ciphers. Okay, let's do that. Zodiac Killer Ciphers. Okay, let me try it with 2 hands. Zodiac. .com. Okay, did I get it? Let's try it. Okay. Okay, where's the latest? I just want the last one. Is there 12 pages? What? Close. What is that? I just want to know, where is it? I just want to show it to you, but what is this? I don't know. I don't want to know all this stuff. Okay, so okay, this is the first part. See, I'm really not prepared, but it's better that I'm not prepared. So you know it's what's, maybe it isn't better, but it's I know the FBI and others want me to be unprepared because then they get my fresh reaction, because I have had very limited exposure to all of this. Okay, come on. This is not what I'm looking for. Okay, I'm just gonna have to... Okay, French guy. Okay, this is... Let's go to a different article. Okay. I've crafted. Okay, New York Times. I just hope they won't like cut me off. Okay, continue. Okay. All right. Where is he? I just want to know what it is so I can show you. Look at all this stuff. These are all his notes. That's great. Okay, so where is it? Show us the solution. Get it. Yeah, see, people didn't take him seriously. Oh, okay. I just want to see. I see it in here, but I want to show it on the screen. Okay, here it is. Okay. Around 2 a.m. on January 3, an exhausted but elated Mr. Zerori, is that how you say it? Posted a message entitled Z13. My name is K. That's not what it said. That wasn't what he said. My name is K. Care. There. After about an hour, okay, an excited Zerari said he immediately turned to Z13, which supposedly revealed the killer's name, using the same encryption key and various cipher cracking techniques. After about an hour, Mr. Zerari said he came up with Care. That's how I pronounced my name when I was a young child. Care, because I couldn't pronounce L, because my first language was Japanese. So I called myself Care. And I went to nursery school and the teachers couldn't get it. My mother said, "Oh, can you help her pronounce her own name, please?" You know. And they're like, "Well, yeah, sure, no problem." And they tried and they couldn't get me to pronounce my own name correctly. And finally, one of the teachers turned to my mother, you know, when she came to pick me up. "I'm sorry, you know, but I really think she's mentally retarded because she can't pronounce her own name." I mean, and as a young child, I really believed that about myself. It's really sad. I mean, I was actually the opposite. I was like very advanced and Japanese, but my own mother didn't know I spoke Japanese. And my mother, she believed this teacher and kept me back in nursery school 2 years, and you know, because I was younger, I was smaller, and I was younger than the other kids, and they all picked on me. That's what her story always was. But it was really because this teacher convinced her I was retarded. And my mother knew she did heroin and drank gin during her pregnancy, so she was worried that even though they told her I was the only healthy, normal baby at birth, and it was amazing and a miracle, and it was a miracle any of her babies survived, she just, I guess, believed this teacher who was in authority and, you know, thought there was something wrong with me. It was my second grade teacher, Mrs. Rada, who convinced her, finally got through to my mother to convince her there's nothing wrong with Claire. She's just unique in a good way. Like, she's just original. She's just like, there's nothing wrong with her. She's actually really advanced. She's like you know. Yeah, it took, Dean, please keep it down. I know Wispy just jumped into Daddy's lap, and it was very annoying for him. He's a little violent, isn't he? Anyway, so yeah, it took, Mrs. Rada was actually Daddy in disguise, and he finally got through to my mother and helped her understand that there was nothing wrong with me. I was just very advanced, and my mother never thought of it that way, you know. Oh, she's just really advanced. That's all it is. You know, which made me very unique. Anyway, but yeah, that really bogged down my self-esteem for many years, you know, because I mean, she told my mother right in front of me, like I wasn't even there. I guess she thought I was so retarded I didn't understand her, or I mean, why would a nursery school teacher do that to a young child? And yeah, I mean, that I carried that with me like for a long time. And my third grade teacher, Mrs. Blumster, always used to tell my mother, my parents, and me, oh, I'm so worried, the world is going to pass you by. Oh, I'm so worried about Claire, the world is just going to pass her by. And that stuck with me forever too. And really the world has passed me by, which is really sad. It's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. I don't know. I guess I was like daydreaming all the time. I don't know why she said that to me and my parents all the time. Oh, I'm so worried, so concerned that the world will just pass her by. Because I would be in my head a lot or something, I guess, in learning and realization. I don't know. Not really sure what she was talking about. But yeah, my mother kept repeating it to me most of my childhood. I think you need to be really careful what you tell your children, and what you tell your students. That's really sad, that adults were not a little more careful, because that really held me back a lot, thinking of those things like, oh, there's something wrong with me. I always thought something was wrong with me because I was different. I wasn't like any other kids that I knew. I mean, I had to adapt. I had to adapt to the people around me to relate to them. I was on a different level, and it was really difficult, but it wasn't because there was anything wrong with me. It was because I was so advanced. And anyway, so that was my thank you. That's nice of you, Dean. Thank you. So Care, that was supposed to be my name. And I guess my father knew that I would know it was my name and would tell the story behind it. I mean, I don't know. I guess he chose a K instead of a C, so he wasn't so obvious. And Care, it sounds like care, Care. I wonder why he didn't choose that spelling, which was closer to my own name's spelling. I guess he just couldn't be too obvious. And there's this other guy, Mr. K, right? Lawrence K, a salesman and career criminal living in South Lake Tahoe, who had been a suspect in the case. That's what they say. I don't know, maybe my father somehow knew about him or actually knew him personally and wanted to wanted to confuse others. My father was very devious like that. He liked to confuse, and maybe that's why. Or maybe he was tipped off by, Daddy might have had a hand in this. Daddy gave my father instructions all the time and gave me instructions. He was orchestrating this whole thing. So maybe that's why. Maybe Daddy suggested he spell it that way to kind of lend credence to this theory that arose at some point, or would in the future, But it's Care. That's the way I pronounced my name. I thought it was Quare until I saw the solution to this cipher. And I remembered, oh yeah, because Daddy used to say that it was the perfect way to pronounce my name because I am Care, Yes, I am Care. He would tell me that a lot. And that helps me. That's like another confirmation of everything I'm remembering and understanding. It's just another confirmation, another detail to confirm everything. Okay, so that's the big thing that I stumbled upon recently. But it's just unbelievable. And this is something that I hope that my stepmother has had the opportunity to go through and understand how the solution, solving the mystery of the Zodiac Killer is very, very important to people everywhere. I mean, there is so much time and effort and that has been spent and trying to figure out who the hell he is. And it needs to be made public who he truly is. And, you know, the FBI has always known.
Or was.
Dean.
Or was.
Huh?
Or was.
Right. Was. Yeah, he's no longer with us. But, you know, I had always dreamed of bringing him to justice. And I feel robbed of that honor. You know, I dreamt of doing that since I was a little girl. He was supposed to live. My dad was supposed to live so that I could bring him to justice. You know, I wanted to bring him to justice back when I was a little girl, and it never happened. And it was my dream to one day be able to do that, but I can't, you know. It was such a shock to me when I found out he had died, you know, because that was my dream since I was a little girl. And, I really do believe that David Craig is going to give me that dream instead. I'm going to bring him to justice. He's, you know, the Zodiac Killer was just like the first one. And, you know, David is worse than my father in a way. He killed more people than my father. What, Dean, please don't interrupt.
All the copycats.
Right, Dean, okay, if you want to comment, if you have something very important to offer, then okay, but I need to get this story out. I'm not just chatting. We're not just shooting the breeze. I need to get some information covered in this live stream, and I can't. If you keep distracting me, I'm gonna get off topic, and I'm not gonna cover what I need to.
You have to remember the copycats.
I did. I mentioned that. I did. I mentioned that he was the copycat killer, Zodiac Killer. Zodiac Killer, copycat, Zodiac Killer, whatever he was called. That was David, yeah, and that was the start of his career. And, you know, and Zodiac, you know, Zodiac was the original, and all serial killers really, you know, he's their original inspiration. But what people don't know about, okay, this is what I need to talk about now. The Zodiac Killer killed more than 5 people. And, you know, I've talked about a little more in the description, but, you know, he didn't just, you know, kill 5 people. He stopped killing as the Zodiac Killer after those 5 people because he was gonna, you know, because his brother, my Uncle Norm, threatened to turn him into police if he killed anybody else. And so he had to stop being the Zodiac Killer, or Norman would have turned him in. That was the threat. I mean, Norman was really serious. He was yelling and screaming at him to make it really clear that he was going to turn him in if he found out he killed anybody else. But, you know, I knew he was never going to stop killing. He was addicted. He was an addict. And he never did. He just stopped saying he was the Zodiac, you know, and he was a CIA hitman. You know, I watched him kill Martha Moxley with my own eyes. You know, it was horrible. It was the most horrible thing I'd ever seen in my life. When I was 9 years old at the time. You know, that was really hard to go through, you know, when I was 9. You know, that was in 1975, October, right? It was Halloween. You know, and that was one of my first memories. I didn't know what it was. It took me a while to figure out it was Martha Moxley that I was remembering, you know. I started having a whole slew of memories surface for me after I started chanting it. I guess it was in, what year was it? It was, okay, so I started chanting again in I was reintroduced to Nichiren Buddhism for the first time since childhood in 1990, February 10th. Toda's birthday was on the 11th, and on February 12th, President Ikeda established the new rhythm in Los Angeles. And then I stopped chanting. I went back to New York. I reunited with my ex. Well, I had left my husband, and we hadn't gotten a divorce, and I got back together with him briefly, and you know, didn't work out, and the divorce was final, and I came back. So I left in the springs, like probably around April of 1990, and I came back. My flight wasn't until um, end of October of that same year, and yeah, so during the time I was in New York, I stopped chanting because my husband, my ex-husband, he had met this Japanese girl who ended up to be whose family was involved in Nichiren Shoshu in Japan, and she was very opposed to President Ikeda, and um, yeah, and I just got discouraged and stopped chanting for a while, and then I came back to LA by the end of the year. You know, after decide, you know, after he, you know, my husband started going out with this girl, and finalizing the end of our marriage. Um, yeah, so I was back in LA by the end of the year, and then in 1991, I got hit by a speeding red Jaguar on the Marina Peninsula. It was January 13th of 1991. I was 25. It was an open fracture. I almost stood up, didn't feel any pain. Good thing I looked down. My ankle was sticking out. It was open fracture. Yeah. It's a long story. I won't get into it. I've alluded to it. I've talked about it a little bit on previous live streams. Um, and that's what brought me back to my practice. I kind of considered I thought at the time, I thought it was because I had stopped chanting that I got into the accident. And if I had continued chanting, maybe I wouldn't have been hit by a car. But it was actually the reverse. Because I stopped chanting, I probably saved my life. Yeah, the reverse happens to me when I chant. I mean, for everybody else, okay, it's a good thing. Chanting is the most profound spiritual practice you can have. And, but because the words that people chant are my ancient name, you know, minus the Nam. Nam is like a term of endearment, and you put that in front of my ancient name, and that's what people chant. It's also that those words are also the title of the Lotus Sutra, but in a different language. It's the title of the Lotus Sutra. This is the story. Now, it's actually an ancient language that doesn't exist anymore. It's space language, whatever you want to say. But the story is that the Sanskrit title, it's the Sanskrit title translated into Chinese and transliterated into Japanese, which means taking the Chinese translation and making it pronounceable, or able, making it so that Japanese people can pronounce it. That's transliterated. That's what it means. And so, because Japanese people cannot pronounce all Chinese words, just like they can't pronounce all English words either. The sounds in Japanese are limited. And so they have to simplify the syllables to be able to pronounce certain things. And there are certain sounds that don't exist in Japanese, like the L in English. And in Chinese, I can't speak Chinese at this time, so I can't tell you what Japanese people can't pronounce. But that's the story behind how people. I can say my ancient name is Myoho Renge Kyo, right? And you can chop it up, and Myoho is mystic. Mystic law, right? And then Renge is like the lotus blossom, the simultaneity of cause and effect, and Kyo is teaching, right, through sound, right? These are all the different ways of understanding the title of the Lotus Sutra and the sound that not Japanese people, but that Nichiren Buddhist chant. And basically what they do is they put the term, the ancient Sanskrit term nam in front of that, saying that, when you do that, Dean, don't react, please. See, I'm not married to a Nichiren Buddhist, as you can overhear. He has his judgment. Anyway, this is my live stream, and if you don't like what I'm talking about, you can go, do your own thing. Dean, you know that, right? Why do you have to react and be negative like that?
Not being negative.
You're reacting negatively.
Not being negative.
Well, you just kind of snorted. Strawberry tastes so good. Strawberry fields forever. Yeah. Daddy's name back then was Bert Fields. It's strawberry fields forever. Now being in a state of denial. Just seeing what you want to see. Yeah, it reminds me of my stepmother, my mother. It reminds me of myself in the past. Just seeing what you want to see. Not wanting to see anything else. Well, anyway, so they put a nam in front of, the title of the Lotus Sutra. I've told you the whole background there, and that's what Nichiren Buddhist chant, and it is profound. I'm telling you, it's not like just some words somebody stuck together. These words chanted by someone radically changes lives and heals people, and even serial killers who chant these words can become enlightened. And I'm really looking for Bryan Kohberger to rip off his mask on TV on Friday the 18th. I'm really looking for that to happen. That would be such a delight for me to see, and for the whole world to see the true identity of Bryan Kohberger. And the true identity, I'm telling you up front, of Bryan Kohberger is David Wayne Craig. David Craig, my ex-boyfriend, who I call and refer to as the real OJ, because he brutally murdered my brand new husband, Ron Goldman, and Nicole Brown Simpson in 1994. Well, actually, it was Ron, and his partner in crime, Michael Lafferman, nearly decapitated Nicole Brown Simpson. All right, so but back to Zodiac, their inspiration. Zodiac did not just kill 5 people in the Bay Area. Okay, he of course I wasn't born yet, but my father had to do, he was told that, this is sick. This is the CIA for you. They kill people off all the time, okay? He was a hitman, and they'd kill people so they could inherit money. It's all about money, and, they had to do away with JFK. They had to do away with Marilyn Monroe. They had to do away with Martin Luther King Jr. These are my relatives. Marilyn is my genetic sister, and she carried us embryos. At least my twin and I, we used to be conjoined at one vertebrae in the back of our neck, and we were conjoined when we were carried by her. And then they safely removed us. I guess it was in the 50s, all those pictures of her and Arthur Miller all glowing and happy, after she miscarries. Why would they be so happy if they miscarried? It was because, she carried us. And they successfully removed us. They inject a uterus with a certain liquid substance, and the uterus then ejects the embryos, and they catch it with a tube. What do they call them? Test tube. And then they freeze us, and we went through a few uteruses. there was another uterus we were implanted in after Marilyn in the early 60s. Marilyn was late 50s probably, maybe 58. I don't know. I haven't looked it up. In the early 60s, it was Marilyn Monroe. Whenever those photos of her and Arthur, I could look them up for you if you wanted. But I'm trying to cover as much material as possible. What?
Was a playwright.
Yeah, I know.
Famously.
Yes, I know. And he's one of my, I think he's one of my genetic fathers. I know definitely my triplet brother looks he looks like a Dominican Arthur Miller, as our acting teacher Hope Arthur once said. We were at Lee Strasberg together. That's how I was connected to him. It wasn't the first time I met him, but in adulthood it was the first time I met him. And we were assigned a kissing scene by Hope Arthur, who was married to Arthur Fromer, the famous guy. They're now divorced. I don't know if they still live. I mean, they were pretty advanced in age back then. But anyway, and the rest is history, I always used to say. But anyway, yeah, he looks like a Dominican Arthur Miller, as Hope Arthur used to say. And also, he very much resembles that guy from Saturday Night Live. What's his name? Oh, God, I can't even remember his name. A guy used to play a ukulele or something. He's in a lot of movies. Oh, he's like a cute Dominican version of that guy. Adam Sandler? No, is that his name? Adam, let me look him up. Adam Sandler, right? Is that his name? Adam Sandler? I think so. Yeah. Yeah. My ex-husband is like a cute Dominican version of Arthur Sandler. Or a Dominican, and he also is a cute Dominican version of Arthur Miller, if you can see a resemblance there, but he looks so much like Adam Sandler at angles. I mean, he's cuter. I mean, no offense to Adam Sandler. Actually, maybe not anymore. Maybe I'm thinking of my young triplet brother, when he was younger. Adam Sandler probably looks better than him now, because I don't think he's aged very well. He's not a very good person, and it shows. Adam Sandler is a better person, and I think he's aged better. All right. So this guy, this poor French engineer, he thought, everybody made fun of him and said, we're not listening to you. He got it right. He cracked the code. He just didn't know about me, and he didn't know my story, which I just told you. But he got it right. Care. That was the name. I mean, I don't know why my father, I remember when he did that. And I'm like, yeah, but that's my name. And he's like, well, one day you can tell my story, or something to that effect. It was like he chose my name instead of his own, I guess, because of the plan. And I'm sure Daddy put him up to it. I'm pretty sure, Daddy had a lot of hands on all. He had a hand on all of this stuff, and he would tell my dad something, and he'd tell me another thing, and he collaborated everybody. He produced them. He directed us all. And so it wasn't my father who did this. It was Daddy. And he wanted it to be my name, I guess. And they mixed it up so it wasn't too obvious. I don't know why a K, because that's why. Because there was another person with a last name that could have been interpreted that way. And that's Daddy playing games, and confusing everyone and making a riddle of all of this. But I remember when my father, Dennis, decided to use my name that way, and I remember feeling baffled, like, why my name? I'm not the Zodiac Killer. But I guess I was the key to the Zodiac Killer, and I think that's what Daddy had in mind. I'm not talking, when I say Daddy, I'm not referring to Dennis. Okay? Back then I called him Denny. Okay? There was Daddy and there was Denny. I never called my father Dennis Daddy ever. It was Daddy. Daddy was my real father, and he was, genetically speaking also. He was the father who raised me and taught me right from wrong and taught me everything that I knew, and he's the reason why I was so advanced. It wasn't because of Denny. Denny was the monster who Daddy had terrorized me to make me better. And I know that sounds really crazy and weird, but whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger kind of idea. That's, he would tell my Denny, to give me a hard time to make me stronger. I know it just sounds really odd. And my father loved that assignment. He delighted in that assignment. He loved torturing me and making, thinking that knowing he was making me better, stronger. He was a monster. He loved terrorizing people, and especially me. And all he needed was somebody to give him the go-ahead, to give him permission, because it was only going to make me better than I was before. That's what he was told, and he thought it was his mission. It was it was going to help him. I know Daddy told him that was the way to his enlightenment, and he was like, really? Oh, great, wonderful,
Yeah, you never got enlightened.
Well, no, when he died, he chose to die on Michael Jackson's birthday, August 29th, 2020. I'm sure my stepmother had no idea it was Michael Jackson's birthday at the time. It was my brother, Mark, who told me back, I don't know, I guess it was in 2012 or something like that, or no, it was probably 2013, right before I met you, Dean. He told me himself, he said, Claire, it's like there are two Claires. There's the Claire I know and love, and then there's the Michael Jackson Claire. I don't relate to the Michael Jackson Claire. I want the Claire back that I loved. Like I was two different people or something. Like he was talking to me like it's like, Mark, I'm one person, okay? I can't stay 8 years old forever, okay? I'm 40. At that time, I was 40 something, I had to grow up and become an adult. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you can't, control me like a child anymore. Not that he was always younger than me, but, he's acting like, I guess my father might have been operating through him at that time. I don't know. And they were trying to get me to operate under some other split identity called okay, yeah, just leave the Michael Jackson Claire over there and go back to being the Claire we know and love. It's like, what are you, crazy? I'm one person, dude. How can I split myself off into some other person? What are you talking about? Are you insane? Is that what you do? You just okay, let me split off into another personality. I guess that's what they do. I can't do that. Sorry. Okay. I have to be me. And sorry, the me that is me now is not going to be the same me I was when I was 8 years old. Okay. Sorry. But yeah. And my father chose to die on Michael Jackson's birthday. See, basically on my 18th birthday, because my mother failed to take me to the bank as she promised the executor of my grandma's estate. My grandma was holding on to my money until I turned 18, but she died when I was 16, of course, and I was a minor. Well, yeah, my mother made sure that happened. Okay, she paid a nurse to put morphine in her IV, okay, and she died, and grandma set her up. She made her think that she was senile and that it didn't matter, and so she just couldn't wait for her to die, so she just paid a nurse to do this. And you know, she was about to die. I mean, she would have lived like maybe 6 more months max, but my mother couldn't wait. And this is something Grandma always told me. I want you to never forget this, Claire. She'd tell me when my mother was out of the room. I'd be like stunned, like, oh my God, Grandma is setting Mom up. Oh my God. I tried to tell my mom, I'm like, when you walk out of the room, she is totally fine. She is acting. She is not senile, Mom. And my mother wouldn't have it. She thought I was just making it up. But Grandma, she told me, I want you to never forget, this is your mother. You know, I'm dying and she can't wait. She wants to kill me, you know, because she can't wait. It's all, you know, she can't wait. She can't wait for that money, you know, whatever. And then my mother, and then she kills my grandma and finds out that I'm the sole heir of the estate. And yeah, of course she doesn't want to take me to the bank when I turn 18. Of course, on my 18th birthday, she was supposed to take me to the bank. It was my money, okay, before I was ever born, okay? My mother didn't understand this. She thought as a young girl, she was 13, you know, it's such a long story, and I can't get into it right now. I mean, that's another video. She just was, as a young girl, she just thought that the money was hers, and you know, she killed my grandma for it, and then finds out, oh, it's my daughter. My grandma always said it's for your children, but I guess my mother just didn't understand that the money was, you know, put aside for for me. You know, I was the firstborn, and it was I was the sole heir, and it was planned before I was ever born, before my mother was probably ever born. It was planned, and my mother just took it so personally, I guess, and didn't understand. You know, that's the way it works in Vega. You know, there's certain lineages, and there's only one person. There's a sole heir. That's the way it works. And the sole heir is of the lineage. It's hard to explain, but the reason it's that way is because they know if somebody is of a certain lineage, and they know that they're a good person, okay? Not everybody can be given such vast responsibility. It has to be, you know, it has to be the right lineage, and they have to be raised right. You know, it's not just the lineage, it's also being raised right. They don't want them to have an easy life and get spoiled. You know, they want them to be trained and rigorously trained. You know, the more responsibility you have, the harder you have to be trained. And you know, and this is what has been done to me my whole life, and I've resented it, you know, from day one. But as a young child, I was up for it, you know. I was like, okay, Daddy, okay, you know. But yeah, here I am, 57 years old, and, you know, I am just really pissed off, okay? Because, you know, I'm sorry. This is way overboard, and I know Daddy signed off on it because, you know, he certainly didn't understand how he would feel when he actually had to be my daddy and watch this being done to his daughter. And he signed off on it really early because he knew he would not be able to sign off on it later. So he hasn't been in control all this time. I don't know. I and my grandmother, she wanted to make sure I could handle everything, and she wasn't able to handle everything at 35 is the age of, you know, the age when everybody inherits everything. And Vega, I'm talking about Vega. Vega is another world. It's a world inside our sun. I know that sounds really weird. It's otherwise known as heaven. Okay, it's an actual physical location. It's not some spiritual place. You know, and angels, they actually are people who come down here to help, okay? And I decided to reincarnate here, okay? And, you know, I don't know, my life has been a living hell, and I just don't know why I'm here, because I haven't been allowed to do anything other than be tortured. And I'm still waiting for my opportunity to, like, actually create world peace on earth as it is in heaven, you know? I mean, I'd like to be able to do that, you know, at some point. I'm 57, just... you know, the torture continues. Just waiting for my moment. I don't know why I was born. because, you know, I haven't had any opportunity to do anything that I was born to do. And, you know, in Vega, people live like, you know, there's no time in Vegas. So it's like 57 is nothing, right? But I'm sorry, on Earth, it matters a lot. You know, my whole youth is done, over with. Dean, give that to me. Dean, come on. Why are you interfering and inserting yourself? I'm trying. Okay, thank you. But I can handle it. All right, sweetie. I can handle it myself. Okay, I'm sorry. I know, but I'm in the middle of something and you're interfering in a way. I mean, I know you're trying to help, but all right, please don't talk about other things. Okay, we're not talking about the animals right now. I'm in a live stream. Okay. I love you, Dean. I'm just trying to... Anyway, age 35 is when you're supposed to, you know, start your life. You know, that's like the age of maturity. It's when you inherit everything. And, you know, Grandma, she didn't do well at age 35. She was Margaret. Her name was Margaret. And I'm forgetting the name of the person who wrote Gone with the Wind. That was my grandmother's masterpiece. And yeah, I keep thinking Margaret Mead. I know that's an anthropologist, right? It's not the Margaret I'm thinking of. You know, author of Gone with the Wind, Margaret, whoever. She grew up here in Georgia, right? I mean, the story of Gone with the Wind takes place and right here, you know. I didn't grow up down here. I ended up marrying a native of Augusta, Georgia, and here I am. Just ended up here by accident. Well, not by accident. They got me here, right, Dean?
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah, everything starts at age 35, and here I am, 57, and my life still hasn't begun. And I just can't help but think, I know I was told that Grandma she wanted me to have extra time because when she was 35, she wasn't ready. As Margaret, let me figure out who she is. And I know I'm going off topic here. Author of Gone with the Wind. Margaret Mitchell, there it is. Okay, there she is. It was published in 1936. My grandma was born in 1899. So she would have been 37 when this novel was published. And it was just a wild success, you know, and she just wasn't ready. At the time, I don't know how old Margaret Mitchell was, but it was age 35, I thought. When was Margaret Mitchell born? 1900. Okay. My grandma was born February 17th, 1899. So that's almost 2 years. Yeah, so I guess Margaret Mitchell was 35, right? And that was my grandma. So I don't know. My grandma, you know, had looked a little different, you know. I don't know. My grandma is the original identity, but let me just see what some images of her look like. This is Margaret. She really plucked her eyebrows too much, right? Grandma did not pluck her eyebrows at all. She didn't wear makeup a lot of the time. Yeah, look at how overplucked her eyebrows are. Grandma would have, you know. as herself. As my grandma, she was very conservative about stuff like that. Yeah, see, you know, she was in another body. Obviously, that's not how she looked. My grandma, I look a little like my grandma. She had blue eyes. They were smaller than mine. Um, she didn't have as well. No, she did have dark eyebrows. Yeah, she did. Her hair was, I think, a little, well, a similar color than mine, but hers was a little darker, I think. She was more of a light brunette. I am light brunette. I mean, I am brunette, definitely. I started out as a blonde. I think she did too. But I think her hair was a little darker, and she had curls, I think. Whereas I have waves. Um, yeah, this was not my grandma. Yeah, I can see that right here. That's not her. I'm just, you know, she never would have my grandma never plucked her eyebrows. She hardly wore well, she did wear lipstick and a little rouge to church and powder, but that was the extent of it. She would never wear eyeliner. I think she wore a little mascara on special occasions. She was very into the bright, like the Queen. She was a lot like the Queen, Queen Elizabeth, you know, wears the bright lipstick, little rouge, little mascara. That's it. No eyeliner. Powder, right? She never would have plucked her eyebrows. She had natural eyebrows. And you know, I try to take after her now. I used to be a lot more. Used to wear makeup. Used to go to sleep. I couldn't go to sleep without wearing makeup at a certain point in my life, you know. But yeah, I'm very different now. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna get back to Zodiac. So I know I sidetracked going into my grandmother and my mother and how she failed to take me to the bank. And okay, so I was explaining what Michael Jackson Claire what means, you know. So because my mother failed to take me to the bank at age 8 on my 18th birthday, which was October 21st, 1983, I was married to Michael Jackson. That was plan B. Okay, and this is why Brad Pitt has a plan B. His company's his production company, whatever film company, is called Plan B because he's kind of Plan B. He's one of the people I was married to as well, and I was married to a lot of guys who receive my money and are holding it for me for the time when I get declassified. It's to protect my money. I don't know. I've never seen one penny of it from any of them. Tom Cruise, I was married to him when we were both children. Well, he was 13 on his 13th birthday, July 3rd, the day of mentor and disciple in Nichiren Buddhism. It's his birthday. July 3rd, 1975 was his 13th birthday. And I was 9 at the time, and I just thought it was a pretend wedding. I mean, in the United States of America, children don't get married. But in the old world law, according to old world law, I guess they do. And I guess, you know, he was my first husband, I guess. I don't know. They married me and my father, Denny. I mean, it's terrible. They did this for old world law stuff, CIA stuff. You know, it's really weird. That's why I married Dean 10 times, to outdo every other husband, so everybody would know who I was married to, okay? Okay, so yeah, so that's where the you know, and I came forward when Michael Jackson died. He died of suicide, okay? He had somebody kill him. And yeah, they set it up so that the doctor would be blamed, and because the doctor he shouldn't have been doing that in a home, and he shouldn't have left him unattended, you know. And I mean, he left him at a drip, you know, at a level that would not have killed him, but then somebody else came in and turned it up. And because Michael wanted to die, he couldn't sleep. He was convinced that I was going to marry Blankets, who is now BG, his genetic father, and that I was going to take care of them. And he thought I'd be more appropriate, a more appropriate parent than himself. And he wanted to die, and he just thought his children would be better with me. But of course that didn't happen. I came forward, and everybody thought I was, TMZ made me out to be this crazy person, and everybody followed suit and made me look crazy, because in the CIA, either if you're gonna be exposing their secrets, they're gonna label you, either you have the choice, either you're crazy or you're a liar. And when I was a child, they made me choose, which one do you want to be, because we got to keep the secrets secret, and you're going to start talking in the future, and you can talk freely, but we got to label you one thing or another. And I'm like, well, I'm not a liar. I don't want to be labeled a liar. Okay, well, you're going to be labeled delusional then, and that means crazy, Clara. Okay, but I'm not. Well, we're going to have to say you are, because we have to keep our secrets secret. This is the way it works in the CIA. So that's what happened in 2009, August 10th, that we just hit that anniversary recently. I guess it's 15 years, is it? 2023. It was 2009. Yeah, 15 years, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. 15 long years. My life has literally been turned upside down in those 5 years. 15 years, excuse me. Yeah. Well, anyway, we're at the end of that, and I'm really hoping that good old Bryan Christopher Kohberger honors me by putting an end to this bogus life I've been forced to survive for 57 years, and opens the door, opens the can of worms. Okay, I'm a can of worms. Okay, Zodiac. Yeah, my father, the Zodiac, he killed Marilyn Monroe. He asked her to marry him. He was gonna spare her if she married him, but she wasn't gonna marry some young weirdo like him. And he was her drug dealer, and so he's like, okay, well, I tried to save your life, all right. And he, there was a price on her head, and he laced her cocaine with, I think it was, what is that stuff? It's a powder substance that kills you in a couple days. Cyanide, is it? And she died two days later or something like that, really sick. That's how he killed her. And then there was a price on JFK's head, and he was my father always claimed to have been the sniper who hit the target, and he killed JFK, who is one of my genetic fathers. Marilyn was my genetic sister, given up for adoption by my grandmother, who did not want a girl, and then she ended up adopting my mother later, who was her genetic daughter, by the way, who she actually gave birth to. My mother was given birth to by Marilyn when she was 13 years old, and then my grandfather, he had very poor health. He had an ulcer, and it wasn't, he had many surgeries. He was always sick, and the medical bills were piling up, and they needed money, and they gave them money to adopt my mother. And my mother grew up with her grandmother, a genetic grandmother, and didn't know it, and they thought that she was one of my grandpa's relatives. And my grandpa loved my mother and kind of spoiled her, and to the dismay of my grandmother. And my grandmother and my mother never got along, and I guess that my mother was, tried everything to get on my grandmother's good side. She acted like a slave to my grandmother, who tried to do everything, to earn my grandmother's love. But my grandmother just, she had a cold side to her, and she, you know, she was very angry that her husband had spoiled, you know, my mother, and my mother was very spoiled. And my grandma always used to say there was something wrong with my mother. You know, she wasn't quite right. And I heard she was born with half a brain, honestly. And, you know, missing half a brain, you're you know, yeah, you're a savant. Your brain overdevelops to compensate, but you're missing major parts of your brain, which makes you retarded. And yeah, my mother, there was something very wrong with her. And, you know, and I grew up as her daughter, and you know, it was really hard being her daughter. I was actually, genetically speaking, her aunt, right? Because her genetic mother was Marilyn, and Marilyn was my genetic sister, because Grandma was actually my genetic mother. But she was kind of advanced, and, you know, I don't know, I guess when I was born, she was already in her 60s. She was 66. And so, you know, my mother carried me instead. They implanted her with us embryos. You know, they started out with like a lot of embryos, and only 3 of us survived, because, you know, they injected her with heroin on every week, and sometimes more. And she also drank gin. So it's a miracle we ever survived, us triplets, and it's a miracle I was healthy and normal. And yeah, as a result, I'm more advanced than a genius. My brain overcompensated for the damage, and I test with it. You know, I've always been in the normal range for all the areas of my brain that are less developed. You know, I'm all in the normal range, and the areas of my brain that are overdeveloped are like very extensively overdeveloped, and that I'm the reason why they took the idiot out of idiot savant, because I was an example of an idiot, of a savant who has no disability, because previously they had thought that all savants had disabilities, but I don't, and I never have. Even though they've tortured me my whole life, I've had to heal. Yes, it's been really hard, but I have, and here I am telling my story. I'm sorry, it's not directly about Zodiac every moment of this live stream, but, you know, this is part of my story. Okay, and I was just explaining all that because I wanted you to understand why my brother was saying, you know, I don't like the Michael Jackson Claire. I want the Claire I know and love. You know, the 8-year-old girl that he knew, you know, one time a long time ago. And yeah, I mean, I was a child once, but at age 40 whatever, I was not going to be a child anymore. Okay, I was a 40-something-year-old woman, and now I'm 57. And I'm still waiting to be born, to start my life, to turn 18, whatever you want to say. I'm still waiting. And I'm 57 years old. Maybe that's what's kept me young at heart in a lot of ways. I don't know. Still waiting. I feel like a young girl still waiting, you know, to come of age. Make it happen, Bryan. Come on, Bryan Kohberger. Make it happen for me. I really feel like, you know, I had to do this live stream today before the hearing on Friday, enough ahead of the hearing on Friday, you know, so, you know, like a day ahead, so there could be a whole day of processing by others, you know, in time for the hearing on Friday. You know, I feel like, you know, I was getting down to the wire, and I had to do this now. I've been really busy with lots of things to do, and you know, and it's only now that I've had a moment to do this. You know, it's my dream that Bryan Kohberger rip off that mask and reveal his true identity as David Wayne Craig. David Craig. Come on, Bryan. Do, you know, honor me. Make it happen. Open this can of worms. Let's do this. Okay, so... Okay, now... Zodiac's letters. Okay, I'm trying to find... Is this where we were? Is this the... Yeah, go back. Okay. So I want to skip ahead because, you know, these letters are not at all interesting to me. I don't like them. I think they really hurt to look at. But here, this is the one I think that I can really remember. Okay, this is the Zodiac speaking. Up to the end of October, I have killed 7 people. I have grown rather angry with the police for their telling lies about me, so I shall change the way the collecting of slaves? I don't know what that means. That's a typo. I shall no longer announce to anyone when I commit 2 T's for Elliott. That's a little hint. My murders, they shall look like routine robberies, killings of anger, and a few fake accidents, etc. Okay, what is this? This is November 9th, 1969. Okay, so I'm already 4 by this time. The police shall never catch me because I have been too clever for them. Yeah, they never did catch you. Well, they did. They knew who you were and they let you get away. 1, I look like the description passed out only when I do my thing. The rest of the time I look entirely different. I shall not tell you what my disguise misspelled consists of when I kill. 2, as of yet I have left no fingerprints behind me, contrary to what the police say. In my killings, I wear transparent... Oh, look, I'm learning how to use the little dash here, the little hyphen to separate. Like, if I can't continue a word, I'm learning how to use that. Okay, transparent fingertip guards. Okay. All it is 2 coats of airplane cement coated on my fingertips. Yeah, I remember the cement, the airplane cement. Unnoticeable and very effective. I don't know if this is utterly unnoticeable. 3, my killing tools have been bought? No. Through the mail order. Outfits have been bought. Boughten. Boughten? That's not a word, is it? Have been boughten through the mail order outfits before the ban went into effect, except 1, it was bought out of the state. So as you see, the police don't have much to work on. If you wonder why I was wiping the cab down, I was leaving fake claws for the police, fake doors, fake for the police to run all over town with, as one might say. I gave the cops some busy work to do. 2 S's in busy. To keep them happy. I enjoy needling the blue pigs. See, okay, blue pigs. Yay. Blue was my favorite color, and I co-wrote a lot of the Beatles stuff with Daddy. And I know we haven't gotten to that part where he says the blue meanies. They're the green meanies, right? I don't know. I got it wrong. He asked me My father asked me what color the meanies were in the Beatles, uh, movie, and I said they're blue because that was my favorite color. But they were actually, or maybe it was, I don't know. Let me see. Okay, what color were the meanies? What color were the meanies? Beatles. Oops, I mistyped here. Meanies, Beatles. I don't know. Let's see what comes up. The blue meanies. Okay, I think I made them green. I told him they were green, and he agreed with me, and I put green meanies even though they were actually blue. Blue was my favorite color, and Daddy wanted me to make, when we were co-writing the Beatles stuff, he wanted to make the meanies my favorite color. And I didn't know why, but that's what Daddy wanted, you know, because it's the whole thing, like, even devils can become enlightened, and he wanted the meanies to be my favorite color because even they had the opportunity to become enlightened, and that's what the Lotus Sutra teaches, and that's what he was trying to teach me. Like, they are your favorite color, but they're meanies, but they are your favorite color. They're not all meanie, you know. They have all the other 10 worlds in them, including your favorite color, blue. That was his thinking behind that. And yeah, the blue meanies are a fictional army of rude beings that hate all music, and the main antagonists in the surreal 1968 Beatles animated film Yellow Submarine. They allegorically represent all the bad people in the world. And Yellow Submarine, that's supposed to be the sun, the people who live in the sun. That's Vega. We all live in a yellow submarine, a yellow submarine, a yellow submarine. And they look out the window and they see Earth, the blue Earth, right? Like the blue water, and they live in water, by the way. And I know it sounds so freaky and weird, but it's true. I mean, you know, I've died many times, okay? And I'm allowed to go to Vega because when I die, you know, heaven, and then I come back. I know that sounds so weird, but that's what I've done. Both my parents know I don't die. David Wayne Craig, who is the true identity of Bryan Kohberger, he knows I don't die. Because they've all killed me many times, including my own mother, okay? Just to be clear. And there are others who know I don't die. Donald Trump knows I don't die. He has strangled me to kill me more than once. So he's one of my genetic fathers, by the way. I know it just sounds so weird. Top secret. A lot of really weird stuff is top secret, okay? And they know nobody would believe it if they found out. And that in itself protects it and keeps it secret, you know, because nobody would ever believe it. That's how a lot of top secret information is. But it's so funny. I mean, how does this protect our country? You know, how does this have anything to do with foreign nations? How does this have to do with our national security? I mean, yeah, other than freaking people out, I mean, what does this have to do with our national security, with, you know, secrets that protect us as a country? I mean, you know, it shouldn't be top secret. It shouldn't be. It's like a crime that people aren't told our true history, that they don't know all the technologies which would save so many lives, you know. I won't go into all of that in this live stream. But anyway, in these letters, getting back to Zodiac, I know you want me to focus on that. There is like one that talks about meanies, right? Those meanies, and we're not there yet. Here are the blue pigs. Okay, I guess he's talking about, you know, police officers, right? They're in blue, right? And that's my favorite color. I enjoy needling the blue pigs. Hey, blue pig, I was in the park. You were using 5 tracks to mask the sound of your cruising prowl cars. Cruising. Gosh, the spelling. Why didn't you know this was a child? The dogs never come within 2 blocks of me, the dogs. And they were to the west, and there was only 2. Okay. All right. I'm sorry. I kind of diverted, went off subject a little bit because I was thinking of, because I think we called them green meanies in one of these letters when they really are blue, because I told him they were green and he agreed with me, and I put green meanies instead of blue. That is something I actually remember when I was writing one of these letters. Okay. See, okay, so groups of bark. Okay, so he's talking about the dogs. Groups of barking about 10 minutes apart. Then the motor circles went by about 150 feet away, going from south to northwest. Yes, 2 cops pulled a goof about 3 minutes after I left the cab. Oh, this is about the cab. I was there, by the way. I was personally in that cab. It was horrible. I was walking down the hill to the park when this cop car pulled up, and one of them called me over and asked if I saw anyone acting suspicious or strange in the last 5 to 10 minutes. And I said, yes, there was this man who was running by waving a gun, and the cops peeled rubber and went around the corner as I directed them, and I disappeared into the pack of I don't know what that says. Into the park about a half away, never to be seen again. A block and a half away, never to be seen again. Hey, pig, doesn't it rile you up to have your nose rubbed in your boo-boos? The spelling is hilarious. If you cops think I'm going to take on a bus with the way I stated I was, you deserve to have holes in your heads. Take 1 boy of ammunition, nitrate fertilizer, ammonium nitrate fertilizer, and 1 gallon of stove oil, and damp a few bags of gravel on top, and then set the shit off, and will positively ventilate anything that should be in the way of the blast. The death machine. See how I can actually read this a lot better than I could the earlier letters. The death machine is already 2 L's made. I would have sent you pictures, but you would be nasty enough to trace them back to developer and then to me, so I shall describe my masterpiece to you. The nice part of it is all the parts can be bought on the open market with no questions asked. 1 battery POW clock will run for approximately 1 year. 1 photoelectric switch, 2 copper leaf springs. See, he's an engineer. He's an electrical engineer, so that's why he knows how to do this. 1 copper leaf spring, one 6-volt CAN battery, 1 flashlight bulb and reflector, 1 mirror, 18-inch cardboard tubes block with shoe polish inside, and something. Right, see, he's an engineer. See, that's how he... Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this looks like his drawing. I think he drew it and he had me write it. He didn't want his handwriting to be recognized, and that's why he had me write it. But see, it looks like... See, look at this arrow. See, it's a pretty advanced arrow. That would be him. And yeah, see, that's probably him. Yeah, and he just had me write the description, the descriptors, label them, The system checks out from one and to the other in my test. What you do not know is whether the death machine is at the site or whether it is being stoned in my basement for future use, stored in my basement for future use. We didn't have a basement. I think you do not have the manpower to stop this one by continually searching the roadsides looking for this thing. And it won't do to retreat and reschedule the buses because the bomb can be adapted to new conditions. Have fun. By the way, it could be rather messy if you try to bluff me. P.S. Be sure to print the part I marked out on page 3 or I shall do my thing. Yeah, was this like the last one? I don't know. He talked about the kitties, right, in the bus. He used to call me kiddo, my father, all the time. Kiddo. To prove I'm the Zodiac, ask the Vallejo cop about my electric gun sight, which I used to start my collecting of slaves. Okay. Oh, there's a dragon card. See, he's the Dragon King's daughter. I mean, I'm the Dragon King's daughter. Yeah. Okay, let me just look at this. My name is... This is 1970. Now, we left in 71, right? Yeah. Okay, this is the Zodiac speaking. By the way, have you cracked the last cipher I sent you? My name is... I am mildly serious. There's an S, a C instead of an S, as to how much money you have on my head now. I hope you do not think that I was the one who wiped out that blue meanie. There it is, blue meanie. Okay, that's... Okay, it says blue. It doesn't say green. I thought it said the opposite of what it was. With a bomb at this cop station. Even though I talked about killing school children with one, it just wouldn't do, DOO, to move in on someone else's territory. But there is more glory in killing a cop than a kid with a C, because a cop can shoot back. I have killed 10 people to date. It would have been a lot more, except that my bus bomb was a dud. I was swamped out by the rain we had a while back. Okay. Okay, so I was 5 when we moved away we moved to Lexington, Massachusetts, so he could attend Harvard Business School. It was 1971, and so this was a year before we left. And I was not quite 5. I was still 4. I was 4.5 at the time of this. At the time I wrote this with him, you know, it was his words. My handwriting. Okay. Okay, here's the dragon card. Okay, sorry to hear your ass is a dragon. What the hell is that? I didn't know they made cards like this in the 60s. Did you? I mean, did they? Your ass is a dragon. I hope you enjoy your slaves when I have my blast. P.S. On back. If you don't want me to have this blast, you must do 2 things. Tell everyone about the bus bomb with all the details. I would like to see some nice Zodiac buttons wandering around town. Yeah, he wanted to be so famous. He would always talk about that. Everyone else has those buttons like Black Power, Melvin eats blubber, etc. Well, it would cheer me up considerably if I saw a lot of people wearing my button. Please me, nasty ones like Melvin's. Thank you. So this is a dragon. Yeah, I'm the Dragon King's daughter. That's what he's referring to. It's the Lotus Sutra. I didn't realize that there was a dragon card until just now. San Fran, Calif. Did people really like do that in the old days? San Fran, Calif. I mean, what the hell? All right. What kind of stamp was that? Let me just see it. Okay, that's LBJ, right? Is it something like that? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Belly letter. What is that? Button letter. Halloween card. Let me see that. That looks like... Okay, secret. From your secret pal, I feel it in my bones. You ache to know my name, and so I'll clue you in. From your secret pal. Paradise. By gun, by rope, by knife, by fire. You are booked. Okay, so this is just after my 5th birthday, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah. Sent to Paul, every reporter. Was it really from him? Yeah, I guess so. See, notice how the writing is getting neater as I'm getting older. Let me see what this is. 1978. Huh. Wonder if this is okay, this is 1978. Maybe this is David. Do you think? Let me see. This is the Zodiac speaking. You and LA are in for a treat in the next... Why is this cut off? It's so annoying that they cut it off. Is it me that needs to... Oh, okay, here we go. Okay. I don't know if you're able to see it. Maybe I should just make it smaller. Okay. This is Zodiac. You people in LA are in for a treat. The next 3 weeks, you are finally gonna have something good to report. I have decided to begin killing again. Please hold the applause. Nothing is going to happen until I do. You people just won't let me have it any other way. I plan to kill 5 people in the next 3 weeks. 1 Chief Piggy Daryl Gates, 2 ex-Chief Piggy Ed Davis, 3 Pat Boone. His theocratic crap is an obscenity to the rest of the world. 4 also Eldridge Cleaver, the ends gotta get their 20% quota after all. Ooh. And Susan Atkins, the Judas of the Manson's family. She's gonna get hers now. Hey, you actors, this is your lucky break. Remember, whoever plays me has his work cut out for him. See you in the news. Yeah, see, that's not Zodiac. You can tell. I mean, come on. You can tell. And you know, I really do think this really could be David. I mean, I think it looks like his handwriting to me. I mean, I think this could be his handwriting. Looking at this, I've never seen this letter before. And it seems like it could be him. He had started chanting at this point. He's born on February 11th, 1954. So in 74 he was 20. So he was 24 at this time. And it looks like it could be, you know, I know David's handwriting, and it definitely looks like he's disguising it, and he's trying to speak in that kind of tone, but it's not Zodiac, no way. Okay, let's see. Okay, what are these 1974 ones? I think these very well could be. Okay. I saw and think The Exorcist was the best satirical comedy that I've ever seen. Signed, yours truly. He plunged himself into the billowy wave and... If I do not see this note in your paper, I will do something nasty, which you know I'm capable of doing. And this is San Francisco. Yeah, I think this is a fake. I certainly did not write like this at this time. In 1974, I had my, you know, I was... In 1974, how old was I? Okay, so in 73, I would have... October 21st, 1973, I would have been 8. Yeah, so, yeah, no, this was not my handwriting. I didn't write anything like this at that time. And this, oh, but I did make little eyes like that. Oh my God, I did. I did make little eyes like that at a certain point in my childhood. Which was like Japanese. Japanese have little O's, right? Don't they? I used to do that. And that's weird. Maybe that was... I don't know. I just know this was not my handwriting when I was 8 years old. That's all I know. I don't know. Maybe it's something that somebody like, I don't know. Okay, March 1971. Now, we were still in California at that time. I was 5. We were about to move. We moved over the summer. Okay, so here we go. Lake Tahoe, around in the snow. He didn't even this one doesn't even have the right zodiac sign. That's not the zodiac sign right there. Right? I mean, he didn't even do it right. So I don't think... What's this? Okay, this is the zodiac speaking. Like I've always said, I am crack proof. If the blue meanies are ever going to catch me, they had best get off their fat asses and do something, because the longer they fiddle and fart around, the more slaves I will collect from my afterlife. I do have to give them credit for stumbling across my Riverside activity, but Riverside, you know, that's where the temple was, you know, the Nichiren Shoshu temple. I don't know if they had formed it, if they had opened it up by then, but yeah, Riverside. We lived on Riverside Drive in Princeton too. Riverside, California. Okay, but they are only finding the easy ones. There are a hell of a lot more down there. The reason that I'm at the Times is this: they aren't busy. Whatever. Okay. So this is just before this is Pleasanton, California, LA Times. Okay, this is just before we left California. Okay, now I just want to see these things. Like, this is not the same writing here. Dear Mr. Editor, did you know that the initials slay, some of the news Libertine Army spell slay, an Old Norse word meaning kill a friend. See, it's not. Sirs, I would like to express my consternation concerning your poor taste and lack of sympathy for the public as by you running the ads for the movie Badlands featuring the blurb in 1959 most for killing time. That's not. This doesn't look right. Totally wrong handwriting. Yeah, it's not it. But this last one, to be honest, I really think this is David. I really do. It's kind of funny. It reminds me of David's writing, even though David's writing is different. It looks like David trying to disguise his writing. It's obviously not Zodiac. You can see it's not the same handwriting, you know. And of course, my handwriting wasn't like that. Okay, so I'm gonna say, okay, what did we say? Okay, so all of these are wrong. I mean, this one that looks like a very similar handwriting, doesn't it? But it has all the little O's. And I'm wondering how... I'm just wondering how... Did I sometimes put little O's in the Zodiac Killer? I mean, because I did write like that when I was a child. I'm not like that handwriting, but I put little O's like on top of my eyes. I used to do that, and I was corrected in class, you know. But I used to do that a lot, and you know, I know that Japanese has a lot of O's in it, like that, little circles like that, and I'm sure it was my mind remembering Japanese. So the Halloween card, this is definitely, I think this is right. Okay, this seems familiar to me. I mean, enough familiar that I would say this is definitely, because it does seem kind of right. There's something familiar about this one. Okay, and this is right after I turned 5. And, okay, Halloween card, 1971. I mean, March 13th. Yeah, I definitely think this is it. This is one also. And this would have been the last one we could have written before we left, and I just don't think this is one. Yeah, I don't think this is Zodiac right here. I don't think this is it. I don't think this is us. Okay. So I'm just thinking it's up through here. Now let me look at these other ones. Oh. This is different, isn't it? I don't like reading them. Okay. I don't know. I didn't know we wrote about this. This is the Zodiac speaking. I'm rather unhappy because you people will not wear some nice Zodiac buttons. I know he was obsessed. He wanted to be so famous. So I now have a little list starting with the woman and her baby that I gave a rather interesting ride for a couple hours one evening a few months back that ended in my burning her car where I found them. This is something I haven't spoken about publicly. I don't think. Maybe I have. I don't think I have. One of the murders that I personally witnessed was my father snatching a baby out of a woman's. The I think the baby was in a carriage. Actually, it was like in a. It was a baby. It wasn't. It was a tiny little baby. Very small baby. Must have. I so small that maybe it was a newborn. It was very small baby. It wasn't a mature baby. It was a very, very tiny little baby, like a doll. And it was in some kind of carriage, I believe. And we were walking. I was walking with him somewhere. I don't know where. I don't know where. I'm thinking he might have been referring to her in this letter. I don't know if it was San Francisco or where it was. I think he did it in a place where he thought he could get away with it, something like that. So I'm thinking it was a city like San Francisco. And he just snatched her baby out of the carriage. And the woman was so stunned and scared that she cowered away and went away and let him take the baby. And I remember, like, what? You're letting him take the baby? And I was like so confused by that. Like, how could a woman do that? You know, let some monster take her baby. She just like cowered away from him. Like she was so scared she ran away. She let him take the baby. And he ripped the baby into pieces. I saw he ripped the arms and ripped the baby apart right in front of me. And it was like the most shocking thing I had ever seen. And I was a young child. And I had, every time things like this happen, and, I had Daddy to talk to. And Daddy always helped me cope and understand what had happened. And we were talking about the mother and how she could have allowed that to happen to her baby. And, we talked about how different people are, react differently, and how, some people would give up their life for that baby, and that would be a true mother. But, she wasn't that kind of a mother. She wasn't the kind of person that could stand up to evil and sacrifice herself for her child, and we talked about different kinds of people and how different kinds of personalities and how they react in a moment like that reveals their true nature and things like that. He helped me cope with what I was witnessing. I told him everything. He knew everything I was going through, and he helped me make sense of it, because it was just so confusing for me as a young child. And it was like this little baby just came apart so easily, the little arm, the little leg just came apart, and the baby was dead. I mean, it was like in a moment he just like tore him apart. I mean, it was like I didn't know that was possible, and it was so sad. And I was so horrified at the woman who just like scurried away. She scurried away. She was like, and she just let him take the baby. She didn't fight for the baby, didn't do anything for the baby. It was like, oh my God. Yeah, and I'm thinking that he might be referring to that. I haven't seen this letter before. until, I mean, since it was written. I am rather unhappy because you people will not wear some. Yeah, he was so obsessed with that. Wanted to be famous. So I now have a little list, starting with the woman and her baby that I gave a rather interesting ride for a couple of hours one evening a few months back that ended up. Okay, but no, he's making up. I mean, at least if he's referring to the baby, I'm remembering, you know, it was just we were walking down a sidewalk. Baby came, you know, mother with her baby in a carriage came towards us, and he just like takes the baby and just rips up the baby, and she scurries away. That was it. It was like one instant, and I don't know what he did. I mean, he just left the baby there. I mean, I don't know. I mean, in those days, I guess they didn't. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, he wouldn't he have had to like bury the thing or get it out of sight? I don't know. I mean, if they found baby parts on the side of a road, I mean, they would investigate, wouldn't they? I mean, back in the 60s, though, it was different, you know. Okay. See how tidy and neat I'm getting in these letters? This is when well, actually, I'm only 4 still. I'm not 5 until the end of the year.
A good boy. Yes, you are a good boy. Yes, you are.
Mm-hmm.
Good boy.
Yeah, and a full school bus, but now school's out.
Frost you up yet?
Huh?
You didn't finish your frost you up yet?
I'm getting there. Dean, I'm sorry that I snapped at you. I didn't mean to, Dean. I love you very much. And I appreciate everything you do. I just was like focused on what I was saying, and I felt like you were trying. Dean, were you trying to interrupt what I was saying because you didn't want me to say what I was saying?
That was so sleepy.
Yeah, Lily's at my feet.
She's very sleepy, Mama. Baby was tired.
That's Elizabeth coughing in the background. It doesn't seem. She stops. She eventually stops, and it just. I give her cough syrup, and it doesn't seem to make much of a difference. She still has bronchitis, you know. That was one of the things that she suffered from in the hospital. And it doesn't go away. They treated it, and it still is persistent.
You know why?
Mm.
Because it's the fucking
Yeah, I know, Dean.
lungs are doing this.
I know.
And you can't do it any other way.
I know.
They will kill you. Baby girl. That's joy. My baby girl.
Yeah, this is the letter talking about blowing up the school bus. And what are the kitties? Kitties. I remember kitties. He used to call me kiddo growing up. All right. Okay, what's this one? Wow, this is like really tidy. And is this right? Is this? Yeah, it is. I can tell it is. This is December 20th, 1969. So I would be 4. Okay, let me read it. Dear Melvin. Melvin, now we knew the husband of my mother's best friend was named Melvin. I don't know. This is sent to Melvin Belly. Who is he? Well, I guess I'll find out. This is the Zodiac speaking. I wish you a happy Christmas with 2 S's at the end. The one thing I ask of you is this. Please help me. I cannot reach out for help because of this thing in me won't let me. I'm finding it extremely difficult to hold it in check. I am afraid I will lose control. I'm going to take my 9th and possibly 10th victim. Please help me. I'm drowned with a D. At the moment, the children are safe from the bomb because it is so massive to dig in, and the trigger mechanism requires much work to get it adjusted just right. But if I hold back too long from No 9, I will lose all control of myself and set the bomb up. Please help me. I cannot remain in control for much longer. What the hell is that? I don't know if that's even. I don't know.
Who wrote that shit?
It's one of the Zodiac letters. I don't know what that is.
Then why don't you just take his gun out, put it in his mouth, blew his brains out?
I don't know.
Right?
See, I mean.
Fair?
Yeah, I hear
Blow
you.
his brains out.
I just don't know if that's a real one.
If he can't handle it, he should blow his brains out.
That makes me. I'm the murderer of the Toaster. Yeah. So Washington Street and Maple Street. Yeah, that was. I was there last night to prove this. Who this is a blood-stained piece of his shirt. The same man who did could have caught me last night if they had searched the park properly instead of holding road with their motorcycles, seeing who could make the most noise. The car drivers should have just parked. Dean, what are you doing? You're giving them treats. No?
You're trying to be good babies here, okay?
So you're giving them treats?
They're trying to behave and be good.
Okay, but Dean, they've already eaten and they've gotten lots of treats today.
Trying to be good for you, okay?
Okay, what are you doing? Giving them treats? I told you not to give them those sugar cookies. Okay? Don't do that. You're gonna make fat dogs.
Okay.
I'm telling you. I guess I can't. So you just do what I don't want you to do.
They're trying to behave for you. Okay.
Dean, they're doing fine. They're being themselves. Leave them alone. Don't.
They're being good. Yes.
Okay, so don't give them anything.
Okay.
You gave them a cookie just now, didn't you? Yes, you did.
Oh.
I want you to stop doing that. I've told you not to do that. I'm trusting you to not do what I tell you to do. I need to take care of them. They have cookies for them, dog cookies. Don't give them sugar cookies. And I don't want them to turn out like Dixie. They can't get fat. Dean, please. Please take me seriously. You just don't listen to me.
Fine.
I keep telling you and you just do what you want and I don't appreciate it. I'm trying to take care of them. I'm almost done. I'm almost done. I guess I'm almost done. I mean, can you please don't feed them, Dean?
All right, fine.
They've already eaten a lot today, and you're training them to beg. Please don't train them to beg. I'm sorry. These letters upset me. Instead of holding road with those motorcycles, seeing who could make the most noise, the car drivers should have just parked their cars and sat there quietly waiting for me to come out of cover. School children make nice something, etc. I think I shall wipe out a school bus some morning. Just shot out the yeah, there it is, the kitties comment. Just shoot out the front tire and then pick off the kitties as they come bouncing out. Yeah, it was just before this that he called into that show, right? It really upset me, you know, because he called me kiddo all the time, and I remember I was really worried that he was actually, like, he was pretending that he wasn't, he said he was just talking big talk, but I was really worried he was actually going to kill kids like me, and that's when I urged him to call into that show, and I wanted him to turn himself in. I was just, you know, this is when I was starting to get really worried, and I started pushing him to turn himself in. This was October 13th, 1969, just before I turned 4. I was 3, almost 4.
Yeah.
On 8 days later, I turned, 8 days later, I turned 4. And I guess this is right before that TV show, because I remember the kitties blowing up the bus of kitties is what really concerned me, and that's when I started pushing him. And I'm sure that Daddy told me if I was this upset about it, then I should urge him to turn himself in. And It was Daddy's, urging that got me urging him. Daddy staged all of this, and I wanted him to turn himself in so bad, and
You never did.
well, they didn't.
Just like your dad. He never turned himself in either.
I'm talking about Zodiac, my father. What are you talking about? I'm talking about that's the same person. Who did you think I was talking about?
So, one of his underlings.
Oh, no. I'm talking about Zodiac.
He never turned himself in.
Well, he called into
You know
that
why?
show.
Because he wasn't man enough.
Okay, Dean. I got him to, I urged him to call into the show because they were on TV and they were asking him to call or something like that, as I recall. And I urged him, and he called, and he was on air, and they were talking to him, and then he hung up, and they wanted him to call back, and he never did, and he let me down. That's how I felt. I felt like he let me down. He promised he would turn himself in. And then there was the taxi and that whole thing, and then I tried to get, my uncle, I tried to tell I think Daddy told me to tell my mother, and I showed her the piece of shirt, the bloody piece of shirt, and told her what happened, and she just thought it was some woman's period on a piece of, she didn't know why Denny would save a piece of cloth with some woman's period on it, on his desk in a box. And I was just like, oh my God. I mean, I remember just thinking my mother was crazy for thinking such a thing. And then my Uncle Norm was visiting from San Francisco. He was a hippie, and he was chanting in those days. And I mean, they were around chanting their whole lives. And then it became popular to chant in San Francisco. And he was a hippie, and he was chanting with all the hippies in San Francisco. And he would come to our house and chant, like his father chanted at bedtime to them as kids. And I thought, oh, I can really trust him. He chants. And I told him all about it, and I showed him the piece of cloth, and he believed me, and he confronted my father. My father confessed, and then he got my mother there, and he confessed in front of my mother and him. And then Uncle Norm asked my mother, what should we do? He's the Zodiac Killer. You're that guy. I remember him saying, you're that guy. You're the one that's been doing all this. Oh my God, did he? And he's like, what should we do? He's the Zodiac Killer. And my mother's like, we can't turn him in. It'll ruin our lives. And Norm, and I'm like thinking to myself as a little girl, I'm like, I guess, I don't know, I must have been 4 or 5. I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, my life is already ruined, Mom. I mean, don't you think my life is already ruined? I was thinking. And then Norm's like, oh, I don't want to ruin your lives. Okay, Denny, if you don't you dare kill anyone else. If I find out you've killed anyone else, I'll turn you in. I'm going to turn you in if you kill anyone else. And he's like, okay. And then my mother, she threw away the elevator shoes. He had elevator shoes that made him taller, and they were like really strange looking. I think he had one pair. He might have had a couple pair, and she threw them away, and he was upset. He was like, who threw them? I'm like, Mom threw them away. Mommy threw them away. He's like, oh, why did she do that? That was after, I guess she was throwing away the evidence. Oh, he doesn't need those. Like she used to pretend.
You know who had to wear elevator shoes?
Who, Dean?
Jack Kennedy.
All right.
Do you know why?
I don't know. One foot.
leg was 1/2 inch.
Okay, all right. That's irrelevant to what I'm talking about. I'm trying to stay focused, Dean. So, obviously she was doing away with evidence, but she used to think originally, before she knew that, what they were for and disposed of them, she used to think he was self-conscious about being only 5'9". He was 5'9". I mean, I don't know. That's what he said he was. She was 5'8", and she barely, I don't know. It seemed like she was taller than him. I guess she couldn't wear any heels, or she would be taller than him. And she thought that he was self-conscious about his height, and that's why he had elevator shoes. But he never wore them when he was with her. So she should have known better, but my mother was in total denial. And And then once he confessed and she knew why he had them, she disposed of them. Oh, he doesn't need these, she'd speak out loud as she was doing it, like, so I would think she was throwing them away because, he's so self-conscious about being short. He wasn't short, he was just not as tall as he could be. And, he doesn't need these, he's all self-conscious about his height. He doesn't need these. But she knew what she was doing. I mean, she was trying to talk herself into, my mother created fake realities and tricked herself into believing them herself. She was a really sick person. And she would just talk her way into this fake reality. Oh, he's all self-conscious. After my father confessed to being the Zodiac Killer, that's when she disposed of those elevator shoes. She had tolerated them all along, thinking it was really strange that he was so self-conscious about his height. And then she finds out he's the Zodiac Killer and puts two and two together. Oh, that's why he had the elevator shoes. And then she goes along this line like, oh, he doesn't need these. He's so self-conscious about his height. Oh, that's so silly. Oh, let me throw them away, But she knew what she was doing. She just was trying to convince herself otherwise, and maybe to convince me, to cover up the truth and,
And Claire, keep the fez off her ass.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Claire, they could have leaned on her ass and she told them everything.
No, she was an accomplice, right? Yeah. Anybody who, my Uncle Norm, if this ever becomes public, he's, he was 5 years younger than my father, born in 1945, right? Is that right? No, 46. So, 46. So he's 3 years away from being 90, or am I wrong? Yeah. Is that right? Yeah. No, because, yes. No, from being 80, right? 46, 80 would be 20. Yeah, he's 3 years away from 80. Because my father was 79 when he died in 2020. So he's 3 years away from being 80. So he's, 77? I guess his birthday's in August or something. Maybe he's 76 right now, turning 77. Yeah. And... I don't know. He tried to play it like he was having memory problems it appeared that like he might be having some memory issues when I spoke to him for the first time in years in January.
Or maybe he has Alzheimer's.
I don't know, but I don't know if he was faking that or what. He's always remembered what he witnessed and, But yeah, he could be held accountable. His hair is underneath that stamp that my father put on one of those letters after he visited and didn't turn him in. Because, a part of Dad wanted to be turned in, Dean. He did. And Norm failed him. And he told me Norm failed him. And so this is what he was going to do to him. I'm like, no, then they'll think it was him. And he was smiling. He thought that was great. And they still have that hair. Norman Dale Elliott, Professor Emeritus at the University of Utah. Yeah. Well, if this is ever made public, I don't know. I didn't want to hold Norm accountable, even though, he could have solved this a long time ago.
The man is dead now.
What? Well, talking about Zodiac, yeah. My father.
Story about from day one to last day.
What?
From day one to last day.
What are you saying?
The first person he harmed on his first day, the last person he harmed.
So what are you saying? What are you asking me? Are you
right? A tell-all book.
Well, I don't actually know everybody he killed. I just know who I witnessed being killed and, what I witnessed as a young child. That's all I know. I don't know everything. I just know what I personally witnessed. That's it. And, there's so many stories, so many books I'd like to write. I don't know. This is not really exciting me to write about, but Yeah. All right. So, I guess that's really all that I wanted to cover. I mean, I don't know what else there is. Just trying. I mean, of course, I don't know if anyone was on here tonight. Um,
You were on there for a long time, huh?
yeah. Let's see. It's almost 11 o'clock, and I started what time? Oh, that's right. I got it. I know Elizabeth wants me to take care of her, so I have to end it now. And when did I start? 7, a little after 7. I had technical difficulties, so it was more like 7:15, 7:20. Hi, baby, and you want to go out again, huh? Yeah. So, yeah, that's 3.5 hours or 3 hours and 40 minutes, something like that. I don't know. I hope I covered everything that I needed to cover. It's not really subject matter I like to think about or go over in my mind very often. It's there. I wanted to bring him to justice and it didn't happen. And so I'm hoping that Bryan Kohberger. Dean, I'm trying to express myself and you're interrupting me.
He was a fucking coward.
Okay, fine. Anyway, he had a new family. He married, as I mentioned. I have a stepmother who's 6 years older than me, and who I met when I was 17, living with my dad after my parents had separated and were going through a divorce. And she was only 23 at the time when I met her. And would you please not interrupt me? Can you please let me speak and tell my story, and then wait till I have a break and then you can ask or say something? Okay, I appreciate it, Dean. I'm trying to tell my story and I'm trying to conclude so I can take care of Elizabeth. Okay, so, I don't even know what I was talking about, but do you remember what I was saying before you started to interrupt me? No, you don't remember. So, my stepmother, I know my mother, my stepmother didn't ever dream that she selected the Zodiac Killer for a husband. She just was interested in marrying into money, and she thought my father had money, and she didn't understand that a lot of it belonged to somebody else. And I guess she grew to resent me when she realized how much my father was obsessed with me over the years. I moved away. I left home at 18. I tried to go to college and I ended up skipping all my classes, like I skipped all my classes in high school. So I left. I went to New York. I left, and I lived my own life. I got married when I was 19. What did she want? I was not trying to interfere with their marriage ever. I always hoped for them to get together because I wanted both of them to be happy. They seemed to get along and be compatible, but then once she married my father, everything changed, and she was on a mission to separate me from my father. When they got married, I was living all the way out in LA, in Los Angeles. When they got married, they lived up in Oregon. I guess they had moved to Oregon because my father was I can't keep track of everything he was doing. He was like CEO of Pacific Telecom or something like that. I mean, I don't think he was the executive vice president at that time. I believe he became the CEO. It was a subsidiary of Pacific Telecom. I don't know. I'm forgetting, but he lived in Portland, Oregon, which was, he moved to Portland, Oregon. When I moved to New York, he moved to New York. I mean, he followed me. I didn't follow him. And then when I was in LA, eventually they moved to Virginia, Great Falls, Virginia. And then he was on the board of directors down in Orange County, and he would his company would regularly fly him into LA because he had a daughter in LA, and he was doing all kinds of things behind the scenes that I didn't really understand inside the SGI which is the Buddhist organization I was born into. And I didn't know he was doing all that stuff. I didn't even know he chanted at that time. You know, it was top secret. You know, I didn't know I was a fortune baby, born into the practice. Didn't know any of that. Anyway, so I don't want to get too much into it, but basically, you know, my stepmother thinks that I want to destroy their lives. And, you know, ever since I have come forward about, you know, talk to her about Dad being, you know, the Zodiac, you know, she's just, you know, she just thinks I want to just, you know, I guess she thinks I'm crazy, or I'm just making up something to destroy the life of her children, or her. I understand it's not every day. I mean, nobody wants to think that they married the Zodiac and that the Zodiac Killer is the father of their children. But, you know, I spoke to her for the first time in many decades, actually, in January, after my mother's death, and, you know, after finding out about my father's death. Did you just feed her that? And, you know, I tried to assure her that just because my father, you know, my father is the Zodiac Killer, it's not a reflection of her. You know, it's a reflection of him, not her. And she explained to me, but Claire, it is a reflection of our children. Our children were he raised my children, you know, our children, whatever, you know. And I said, yeah, but, you know, he has this, you know, somebody can have a normal life and have a split personality and walk out the door and have a different personality, be a different person, you know. That's how it works. I mean, if every serial killer, like, you know, when you're a serial killer, you can't get away with your crimes if you walk down the street with a gun in your hand and looking like you're going to shoot somebody up, you know. I mean, you can't get away with it. You have to have this ability to disassociate from, you know, you have one personality that does this and another, you know, it really helps to have different personalities like my father did. Okay, otherwise you can't keep the facade. You know, you have to have a facade and you act one way, and then, you know, you make sure you look like you're totally responsible, honest, clean cut. You're typically gonna have a totally opposite. You're gonna come off to people in a total opposite way than how you really are, and that's the thrill of it for a serial killer. That you're the last person people would think was a serial killer. That's what they get off on. Okay, and that's how they become serial killers, because they do it again and again and again. They get away with it again and again and again. They can't look like a serial killer and get away with it again and again. That's the point. It's the last person you would ever think that is a serial killer. And that's something my stepmother will never understand, probably, and she will always resent me. And, you know, I just know I have a right to tell my life story. I am the one who was sacrificed, and now it's time for everyone to face the truth and sacrifice their little fantasy of, you know, what they think their life was. Okay, it's time for my stepmother to sacrifice her false reality and the false reality she thinks her children grew up in. Because that's why all that has happened in our family has happened, because of a false reality that everyone perpetuates that is a lie. And the truth heals. It's the truth that heals. Nothing else. Lies and pretend scenarios do not heal anyone. They don't help anyone. The truth is what heals. Nothing but the truth is what heals.
Right.
All right. Do you have any last words, Dean?
The only other kind of person like you're talking about, you would never guess who he was, would be a U.S. Navy SEAL.
Okay.
He's trained 14 different ways to kill people with his bare hands.
Okay. All right. Let's not get too into it. I need to end this. Yes, a Navy SEAL is like a good killer. I mean, hopefully they kill to protect. They don't kill any innocent person for no reason at all, like a serial killer. They don't get off on killing innocent people. They get off on protecting innocent people. That's the whole point, right? But they have to be trained to be like serial killers, to be able to protect innocent people from people like serial killers. Okay. All right. So that's it. If you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the comments. I will make other videos answering your questions, other live streams, whatever. I usually don't have anybody watching my live streams, so you're probably watching the replay. I'm a brand new channel. I'd appreciate your support. If you'd like to donate, I think that it's been below my on the bottom of the screen. I also you know, I'd really appreciate it if you at all enjoyed this content, that you know, give me a thumbs up. Yeah, okay, I'm coming. And I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel, to if you'd like to support me in any way, because, you know, I don't get enough support, considering I'm the real deal, huh? All right, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate anyone who has taken the time to watch me. Thank you very much, and good night. I have to take care of Elizabeth now.